Okay, cool. Hello, my friends. Sharing this out to the Twitter scape. Yo, another one. Second one of the week, baby. He's finished watching Hamilton and I'm wrecked. Nice. I have no idea what Hamilton is, but I heard about it. Some sort of play. Some sort of play. You were just listening to the podcast. Well, perfect. Yeah, there's a new podcast out for anybody who keeps up with that. Brittany, you're tired tonight. Uh-oh. Well, I can't guarantee that there's a potential my voice might send you into the land of dreams. Asherella, welcome. Sugar Mills, Bleach, Maine, what's up? Good to see you guys. I don't know what Hamilton is, how. Well, I'm not a girl. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. Seems to be something that girls are interested in. I heard about it. I see it pop up on random shit, but I have no idea what it is. I love you, Maxine, forever and always till I die. Ron, with the first dono of the night, with a $5 he says, "Hey Joel, hope you had a good day. What's something that always cheers you up when you're feeling sad?" I guess memes. Memes are funny, you know. A large amount of them, a large binging of memes directly into my artery. And I don't know. Sometimes I reflect. Like, I think it's important, especially when you're reflecting upon the existential things that give you sadness, to kind of be grounded in some sort of like spiritual aspect of your life, as weird as that sounds. I know a lot of like Hollywood and, you know, culture doesn't really want that necessarily. Not that it doesn't want it, it's just like it's not always like a high point for things. But, you know, doing some sort of retrospection, I've just sort of noticed that people that kind of have that sort of sense of something beyond their life, something grander than themselves, I suppose, in a more spiritual sense, I think that gives them a lot of hope, whatever that might be. Am I sitting here saying I know what that is? I don't. So I'm sorry about that. I'm just as clueless as most everyone else when it comes to reality. But I don't think that should stop us from looking into it and examining it and trying to find, you know, those certain universal truths that bring a lot of people happiness. Iana, your brother loves my humor. Nice. Well, tell bro I said, "What's good, doggy?" Just got back from a quick listen to Mr. Nightmare's sleep paralysis stories. Nice to catch some live. Nice, yeah. Seems like Mr. Nightmare's on the grind lately. He's been putting out a lot of content. Hey, it's Jensen. Ooh, sorry, can't spell. Just so excited. What did you say? Oh my God, let's read. I'm a big fan. Oh my God. Jensen's inside of a big fan. Get me out. I'm stuck in a big fan. Cage Unlimited with the 2 buses. I'm here again. Hope you had a good day, man. Yeah, thank you, Cage. Today was a good day. I just went out to get some food with some friends. Did some lifting of the weights. It was bench day. Chest day. Oh yeah, bro. So that was fun.
Hey, listen.
And came back, and honestly, I'm getting to the point where I'm just like not like my eating habits are not as much as they used to be.
Hey, listen.
And after getting them working out, I just like didn't feel like ordering because I felt like I would be super bloated. So I just didn't even bother. So I'll probably go to bed hungry, but sometimes I feel like that kind of helps sleep. I don't know about you guys. Like, going to bed with a full stomach actually makes my sleep, like, way worse. Cage Unlimited with 2 says, oh yeah, you already said that, sorry. And Estrella Lovely with the 3. Thank you, Estrella. I think I said Estrella. Astrology. The study of Estrella. Lopez Cruz with the 5 says, did you see my ghost? I sent you that instant message. I'll send him over to your house. Yeah, no thank you. I'm not really in the mood for any ghosts in my room. Thank you very much. But yeah, sometimes I can't keep track of messages and I don't respond to all of them. So I apologize for that. It's just tough to keep up with sometimes. Not like I'm like inundated nonstop, but you know how it goes. And I'm definitely not really in the mood to be getting spooked IRL in regards to a ghosty boy. EMW Productions with the 5 says, just finished watching Bumblebee. Now I'm gonna chill, game, and watch your stream. Nice. Is Bumblebee the I assume the Transformer movie with Marky Wahlberg? Gage Coffee, you look like Joe Swanson. Nice. Does that include the colostomy bag? You know furries? You know, there was a boy from my high school. He was a few years younger than me. He was a furry. Oh yeah, if you send me memes, I'll definitely respond and put them on my horny computer Instagram page. Fry is my manager of that. But yeah, he was a furry, and you know, that sort of like, I guess guided a lot of his like postgraduate studies in the realm of photography. Seemed to garner a pretty decent following in regards to that. So I always asked him, I was like, what happens if you come in the suit? And he says, we don't talk about that. We got cleaners for that. You can just throw like a smoke bomb inside of your furry suit and it just burns out all the old crusties. Inga Moonchild with the 5 says, tomorrow's my birthday. Can I get a shout? Absolutely. Absolutely. Happy birthday, Moonchild. I love that name. It's a great name. Hope you have a good one. Hope you're safe and happy. J-Dub, hey yo, your content is rad. Thank you, J-Dub. Good to see you. You're 100% drawing you a snail persona. No, thank you. That is definitely within the Let's Read canon that I am a furry, but I'm not just any furry. I'm a snail furry that drags my slime across your floor as throughout your entire convention. People slip and fall behind me. Cage Unlimited with another 5 buckaroo says, did you hear about Grant Imahara from Mythbusters? He died. Was he, you know, I did see that pop up. Never really watched much Mythbusters. I knew what it was. It was a lot more popular when I was younger. I guess he was a producer or something like that, or one of the... I knew that there was more than just the 2 guys that did it. And I remember they would sometimes head over to the consulting with their one guy friend and then another girl. I think she was like a redhead or something like that. I forget, but yeah, that's sad. I wonder how he died. It's like I think I read it was like a sudden brain aneurysm or something of that nature, which, you know, I could be wrong there. I'm not sure. Where's Hannah? Hannah was laughing so hard she just passed out. Have you guys seen the giant land snail? I've never seen a giant land snail. Honestly, don't see snails in general very often. I wish I did. I wish I did. Connect me back with my people. Miss Molly with the 5 buckaroonies. Oh God, I need this tonight. So stressed. Hello, I love you. Hope you're doing well, Jill. Thank you, Miss Molly. Let us de-stress you. When's the face reveal happening? I'm sure a lot of people are waiting for it. Counting down the days. Me too. You know what? To make sure we're all on the same playing field, I don't even look in a mirror anymore. I don't even remember what I look like. People ask me, I'm like, fuck if I know. I could actually be a snail. All I see is slime. Slime everywhere. My eyes are covered in it. I just reach out my feelers on the screen. When I read these subscriber submissions, I ask most people to, I have someone translate it to like snail braille. I can just like kind of like feel around and just kind of get a gauge on where I'm going. Or do you send it when it's done? Wait, what are you sending? I'm not sure. You can send on Discord, just at me on Discord. That is totally fine. If it's art or... Oh yeah, you said the snail thing, sorry. My brain has been lost. You want slimed? Everybody's getting slimed. It's unavoidable, really. Also, click like on this stream if you could, because that would be dank. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to ask Mr. Robin. He's making me a thumbnail, and for this first story that we're reading tonight, it's related to a nightmare ex, like a nightmare ex-girlfriend and or boyfriend. And here's the thumbnail story. Okay, now I can close Discord so it doesn't shit on my computer while I'm trying to stream. Letty Ramos with the 2 says, thanks for reading. I'm almost COVID free. Hell yeah, Letty. That's what I like to hear. I'm glad you're doing well. I had the hentai porn in my snail shell. Yeah, that thing is busting at the seam with hot anime babes. Venus Flytrap with the 2 says, oh, whoa, hello, Slime Daddy. Excited for another stream. Oh, we're gonna be dripping here by the end of it. Also, we have a nice collaboration as well from... I've been enjoying, you know, getting to know other narrators and stuff who want to kind of get their name out there. In some of this, especially if they're like a smaller channel, getting their name out there with one of your guys' stories. You guys will get to hear some audio from another narrator at the end of this video once it's out tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Should be legit. Would you prefer Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3? I heard Resident Evil 3 was a lot... I honestly didn't really play it, but Resident Evil 2, the remake, was pretty sick. I mean, it like really like that jump in graphical fidelity and sort of the dismemberment and gunplay of the newer remakes definitely got me, which was pretty dope. But my roommate played the hell out of the most recent remake of 3, and he seemed to really enjoy it. So I you know, for one, just didn't really play them that much. Dee Dee, you almost were killed by a possessed friend. Well, you better write that up and send it in. Yeah, guys, so as you know, these are subscriber stories, so please do send them in to reddit.com/r/letsreadofficial, and make sure your grammar's nice. You have a nice title, so we kind of get a gauge of what's going to happen, and pull people in. Make sure you put, you know, you hold shift and press enter, and you'll do a return thing whenever you start a new a new topic, or you know, a new subject. Makes it a lot easier to read when it's not just one big wall of text. There's how I'm different from other channels. You promote smaller channels. Yeah, you know, I don't imagine that like after 10 stories you guys are gonna hear a smaller channel and they're gonna get like a ridiculous amount of subs or anything that's gonna change their life or anything like that. Though I wish that was the case, you know, every time I featured somebody. But it's like I like to listen to channels, and if I feel that their voice is something that is, a good thing that can be offered to the community, it's like I do want to see if someone is interested in, expanding their content of like narrators, horror narrators, and that kind of thing to give people opportunities and chances, because I know that that's what I would want, or, pretty much the only thing that got me to where I am here on YouTube. So I always appreciate that. Anyone have any drawing suggestions? I'm going to draw while I listen. I wish there was a way to show my art for examples. Well, you can post on the Discord. If you go into the Discord and post in the art section, a lot of talented people in there you can share your art with after you're done. And if you want to show me, you can @ me. Let's read on there. I can take a peek. Dude, I listened to a bunch of your videos last night while I fought with myself to fall asleep. Ah, damn, yeah. It do be tough like that sometimes. 2 minutes and 40 seconds till we kick this bee off. Hey, there's Lila. Hello. I don't even know if we have any mods in here, to be honest. Allie, thank you. Favorite scary story reader. Steve, you like this voice? Thanks, dude. Unit 522. What about him? He is a good boy. Is Jesus here tonight, guys? Have we spotted Jesus and or the devil? Being scared and we shouldn't be here do quite a bit of collaboration with other channels. I like how that's pretty common in the early days of these channels. It is nice, yeah. Hey, there's Bridget. What's up, Bridget? Yeah, as your channel starts to grow, that's the one unfortunate part about like doing collaborations, is that a lot of people don't appreciate them because they're here for your voice or here for your content. So if you deviate that too much, it can be some negative responses. So I thought the best case scenario is to, if they're like a big guy like Lazy Masquerader, Be Busted, it's like, of course I'm going to have them like read the second story or maybe even the opening story. But if someone is quite a bit smaller, it's like I want them in the video, but I will put them at the end. So it's like, you get your fix of me, if that makes sense. But then you also, if you're a hardcore fan, stick around, or maybe you fall asleep till the end and you wake up to a different voice, you'll be like, I kind of like that. Because I imagine all it really takes is like one story for someone to decide like, I like this this individual's voice. Maybe I'll go sub. Shyandor Bob with the 2 says, let's get the 1K tonight. I know, that would be dope AF. We are starting out with 350 viewers right from the get-go, so I do think we got some good momentum. Just gotta bonkety bonk, click that honk and like button, share this out. Sometimes I wonder, I gotta figure out how to put tags on these streams. I think it would help. Hello, are you seeing my comments? My birthday is the 26th of July. Keep up the good work and shout me out and I will give you a like. Bruce Wayne, the Batman. The Batman's birthday is coming up. Samuel with the 5 Aussie bucks is, yo, hump day at work for the afternoon. Going to be lit. Thank you. Keep the streams coming. Also say hello to my little bonk. Hello, my little bonk. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, Samuel, for the 5 Aussie bucks. Appreciate that. And Alex E with the 5 says, hey, sorry, I can't stick around. Working late tonight. Love you guys. Y'all better behave. You get the wrench. Alex is gonna get the wrench there. Oh yeah, Bruce Wayne. No spammies. I get it's your birthday, but can't be spamming it or you'll get muted, my friend. It's a naughty thing to do. Whoa, Jessica, you're getting married Thursday. Congratulations. Hope it hasn't ruined, too many plans or whatever related to all the craziness going on, but either way, congratulations. That's amazing. I wish for a lifetime of joy and friendship and family and all that good stuff. King Spook is another good collaboration. Yeah, King Spook was one of the first channels, one of the first bigger channels that like gave me a chance when I started out. And I remember in like one day from him, I got like 300 subscribers and that was like huge, you know what I mean? Really blew me away. So I definitely very much appreciated that from him, and he is very. I really like King Spook's voice. It's kind of dark and gritty. Crow with the 5. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. Thank you, Crow. Welcome, welcome. Crow _. What did you think of Blaming on George? I love Blaming on George. He is actually a IRL friend, which is pretty sick. And I love that his content has been doing so well lately, and like branching out into the documentary style sort of context. But yes, you've had to postpone twice, Jessica. A big wedding is in October, but we feel we deserve to at least be legally married already. Been together a long time. Hell yeah, might as well, you know? Get it done with, get some nice tax breaks, I assume. Not absolutely certain, but Harley, welcome, welcome. But guys, it is that time. It is read time. We are actually starting out with 400 people with before we even started reading, so I think that's kind of a freaking record, dude. You know what I mean? Which is sick. And I think we got some amazing stories, which are all submitted by you guys, as usual, for the subscriber story. The face ravioli. Wait, you're gonna have a Ham Lexet's birthday. Please shout us out, Hannah, Alex, and Bridget. How the hell, you guys have birthdays on the same time, or is it just one long week of birthday? A lot of June babies. A lot of people's parents went in for the good 9 months ago. All right, my friends. So we are going to switch over to the reading screen. As I said, if you have a story, please submit it to reddit.com/r/letsreadofficial. Follow me on @letsreadcreepy on Twitter, @letsread.official on Instagram. Love to see you guys following there, supporting it. Follow my meme page @hornycomputer for all the nonsense. I think it's a pretty good meme page. It's still public, so I'd love to get to 1,000 followers on there. That would be sick. But we're going to switch over to the spooky dooky man known as Iron Cthulhu Apocalypse. This one's called Dark Ambient Hour. Very fitting. If it gets too loud, we can turn it down. But yes, I feel like I sometimes start to talk about something, get on sort of a tangent, and completely space. So if I ever forget something that like you guys were interested that I was talking about, just remind me, because my brain's all over the place and you got like 400 plus people saying all sorts of shit at one time. And I'm like, my eyes are just scrolling everywhere all over you. My eyes are all over you guys. Sorry. Got the burps because I'm drinking sody pop. Anybody, they didn't, you know what's kind of funny? Our place didn't actually have Diet Dr. Pepper at the gas station because they said there hasn't been enough purchases, that a lot of soda for them has been within the expiration range. So they actually, the Pepsi truck has like, they've returned stuff. And I was almost like, what the fuck? You're returning soda? Like, just give it to me, dude. I'll fucking take your shit. I'll take the shit out of your shit. But, yes. But yeah, this was Pepsi Zero Sugar, which kind of tastes like Pepsi Max a little bit. But I think it tastes better than like normal Diet Pepsi. It's all pretty much battery acid for your stomach, but fuck it, dude. Who cares? Fuck it, dude. Who cares? You want to try some Diet Dr. Dew? It's not terrible. It's not the worst ever. Not my favorite, though. Okay, yeah, we're causing the Diet Dr. Pepper shortage. Winter's here, and she's wasted. All right, my friends. Let's kick off this first story. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stories, and then plus the 11th one, which will be from a special guest narrator. I hope you guys stick around to the end to listen to them and subscribe to their channel. I'll be sure to link all of that in the, I want to say show notes, but they're called the description box in the comments. But let's do it. Get ready for a roller coaster. So I had this ex once. I was young and dumb, only just 20. He was 5 years older, married, had a kid. He was unhappy. Alright, we're off to a good start. You know what I need? I need to figure out how to, like, press a button, like a hotkey, and then it, like, like a thing pops up to show my mistakes or something like that. Up, I don't know, up at the top or something, like a mistake counter, but that way. But I do enjoy you guys counting as well. That's number one. Venikins are with a 5. Hey, Venice said, Joel, I need a predicate update to get me through the rest of my work shift. Hope all is well. Butter socks equals love. That's true. He is, so I've had a large pile of shirts that I've not put away for quite a while. Like, I was getting ready. I got them in a pile. Then I was going to put them on hangers and put them up. But then he claimed them as his sleeping spot for a while, and I just didn't have it in me, and also potentially being super lazy. And now he's not sleeping on them. But the top one is just completely riddled with hair, which is really funny. What kind of creepy creature or monster should you draw? Maybe a motherfucking Loch Ness monster. That would be sick. And I need a tree fitty. Brob Ross. Hey, Step Grandpa. What are you doing, Step Brob? He was unhappy, a stifled artist, or so I thought. His wife was nuts, had stalked him when they first started dating, poked holes in their condoms, then told him about it, and said he had to marry her or she would get an abortion, something that he was vehemently opposed to. I feel like I should not say in the first 10 seconds the word abortion. I mean, not that it would matter, but I feel like if YouTube picks up, they usually pick up the first 10 minutes of what you say, and I feel like for some reason I could imagine that she would terminate it. I guess you could say that. And said he had to marry her or she would terminate it, something he was vehemently opposed to. Little did I know how perfect they truly were together. So we start flirting, calling each night, talking through until morning, and at this point we're just friends, but I'm falling. Eventually we confess our feelings, the whole shebang, and then one night wind up at a party with our mutual friends and take a walk around the block. We ended up hooking up on the bleachers of the nearby high school and then had to hide while we heard all of our friends come looking for us. Daring and exciting, yes. This stuff was intoxicating. I'm not proud. Eventually his wife figures out what we have going on, starts stalking me online in the MySpace era, and I have to change URLs a couple of times to shake her. He signed up to be a corrections officer since he couldn't get into the FBI, his dream job, and gets in. This is the first red flag I missed because, again, I was dumb. He comes over to mine and proudly tells me not only did he pass the psychological exam, but it was easy to cheat on. Cheat. I repeat, cheat on. He goes across state then to train for 2 months. I nearly break up with him. He begs me not to, then he nearly breaks up with me, and I beg him no. On and on like this until finally he's able to come home. In this time, his wife gains access to his bank account and keeps draining it each month. She also comes by my work with their daughter in order to intimidate me, after making sure it got back to me that she planned on kidnapping me, beating me, and leaving me on the roadside in the state south of us. So, that was a thing. But finally he comes home. His wife kicked him out, or so he said to me, and he doesn't have money for a hotel. So I asked my parents if he could stay with us, and they agree. He lives in my home, uses the washer, eats our food, and pays for absolutely nothing. In this time, he also begins divorcing his wife. His lawyer is a functioning drunk and takes what little money he managed to keep before his wife gets into his account each week. She's taken about over $18,000 at this point. So now he's staying in my house for 2 weeks, then back across state for 2 weeks working doubles. It's when he's living in my family home I finally get to see his true colors. We've been dating 2.5 years at this point. His daughter is about 3. His mom and I are close, and I do shopping for her once in a while because she's sick and lives near me. But when he's home, he is just off. He says things, does things that keep setting off flags. Then I get I don't know how to say that shit. Fuck. Trichomoniasis? I don't think I've ever seen that. Sam Gonzalez with a 2 says, got me some agua de sandia and an elote. Elote, or is it an elote? And this. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sam. For the 2 Baccarino. Let's see. Trichomoniasis. Oh, what is trich or trich? Is a very common sexually transmitted disease. It is caused by infection with a protozoan parasite called Trichomonas vaginalis. Oh. How do you say it? Squawk? Where's the hawk?
Trichomoniasis.
Trichomoniasis, an infection caused by parasitic trichomonads. That shouldn't be funny, but is chiefly affecting the urinary tract, vagina, or digestive system. Ah, I see. Okay. Well, fuck. I wonder if you got it from them. Yeah. Nurse Joel is not familiar with that one. Unless it's called something else. We didn't really spend too much time studying the vagina. Then I get trichomoniasis. If you're AFOB and you've had trick, you know it's literally a living torture inside your body. If not, be glad and do your darndest to avoid it. Around this time, my ankles are swelling on and off too, so I go to PP to get everything checked out. I go to PP? Oh, Planned Parenthood, I see. Around this time, my ankles are swelling on and off, and I go to get everything checked out and got a pregnancy test. No results on the test. Doctor just doesn't tell me anything, but shoves me out the door and tells me my boyfriend is cheating on me. I can't believe it. I mean, why would he? We do it all the time. I was dumb. So the trike lets up, he's away at work, and life seemingly goes back to normal. 2 weeks later, he's back home. The trike pops back up. He gave it to me again. And so I'm back there to the doctor's for more treatment and another pregnancy test. I asked the doctor this time, so, are you going to tell me my results? She was very dismissive and goes, yeah, you're pregnant. Turns out I was the last time too, but now it's too late to take the pill. It wasn't. She only just told me that, turns out. I slept out in a daze, telling him idly as he's waiting there for me, and he's just thrilled. I wanted to die. So we get home, and I tell him I don't want to have the baby. I'm 23 at this point, younger than my mom was when she had me, and I'm the oldest. I didn't have a job anymore because his wife stalked me into being too scared to leave the house, and I just wasn't ready. He tells me, listen, termination isn't an option. You have to have my baby. And this is where the really crazy stuff starts. He tells me he always managed, growing up in the church, that... Oh, imagine, sorry. Maya B with a 5 says, hello, can't stay tonight. I'm just dropping in to say hi and give you a dono. Much love to you in Pradeep. Thank you, Maya. Thank you. Sorry you can't stick around, but I do appreciate you dropping in. I hope that you have a good night. Thank you. Hannah, the substitute head mod PSA. Everyone moved to Nebraska. We can form a proper buttersock cult here. Thank you. Hannah's in charge of the cult. What do they call she's the high priestess. He tells me he always imagined, growing up in the church, that he would be the one to father the one meant to kill the Antichrist, that his children would be kings, that he would be made a saint, etc. Me, an atheist, look at him like he just grew 3 heads. I tell him I cannot give a child up for adoption. Too many of my friends lived in or had siblings that had been in the system, let alone know something I grew and loved was out there without me. Then the answer's simple. We'll keep it, he tells me. So I tell him, then the 2 weeks you're home, you change all the diapers, since I'll be doing it when you're gone. He laughs and tells me, that's a woman's job. I wanted to terminate it immediately. The next day he gets home from divorce court and he's painting and laughing and pacing. Asks if anyone's home. They weren't. Then proclaims, I chickened out. Chickened out? He then pulls from his big bag a shiv, stabbing device fashioned from something else used in prisons as weapons, and he says, I learned this from the guys at work. To which I ask, the other COs? And he replies, no, the inmates. He worked at a supermax facility, literally the worst of the worst state had to offer, and He worked at a supermax facility, literally the worst of the worst our state had to offer, and he had made friends with actual serial killers. I wanted to run, but was trapped in my own home for another 2 days with a man who had literally planned to kill his wife in the middle of court. I broke up with him that night, but bent and promised he could stay with me. Ooh, this is a long story. The Antichrist, Little Uzi. Number 15. Your Gmail was in foster care. Interesting. Emily's asking, who dated an awful, cheating, delusional man before in the chat? Yeah. Gotta vet him. Gotta vet him. I started logging myself. All right, where were we? Oh, I see. We go. Oh, I see. I broke up with him that night, but bent and promised that he could still stay with my family until we had money. 2 weeks go by. He leaves. I'm stricken, unbelievably ill, and I'm spotting. I decide with my mom to actually go through with the termination, and I make the appointment. I have to wait 2 more weeks because of the law. Hard eye roll at the... Okay, what the fuck? I will pull folk through legal abort... Okay. I have to wait 2 more weeks because of the law. I've got 3 days to recover before he comes home and can assume anything other than I just lost the baby. We go. Mom walks with me. They do a psych exam. The shrink tells me I'm beyond prepared for this and that I am making the right decision, based on my various reasons, primarily not wanting anything to tie me to the psycho I'd just broken up with. I'm done. I'm home. I'm snarky on the Valium they gave me, and I sleep better than I have in all my life. The next morning, everyone is at work. I'm alone, and he comes back 2 days early. He tries kissing me, begging me, telling me how much he loves me and misses me and how much I've broken his heart. Begs me to sleep with him. I tell him over and over again no, until all I remember next is lying face down on the couch, my pants pulled down, him on top of me while I'm crying uncontrollably, as he's just done the most... I don't know, I can't... Fuck, okay. I think we can just kind of presume, because I can't really say raped. This is a pretty heavy story right out the gate, Jesus Christ. Begs me to sleep with him. I tell him over and over again no, until all I remember is lying face down on the couch, my pants pulled down, him on top of me, while I'm crying uncontrollably. He asks me what was wrong. I tell him that he just had his way with me and what he just did to me, and he just sits there trying to convince me that he didn't and couldn't understand why I was crying. I started locking myself in my room after that. So, when I went through with it with the baby, it turned out that the fetus had died at 6 weeks, and I was 15 weeks along, so for 9 weeks it was just rotting inside me. Despite the intrusive and violating internal sonogram they legally had to give me, I did manage to get a refund on that because they then classified it as an assisted miscarriage. That said, I needed a lot of help to recover from the hormones and other near-lethal chemicals in my body, so another doctor prescribed me medication for a disorder I didn't have, medication that made things even worse. The medication I was on at the time made me manic for upwards of 48 to 72 hours. Then I would crash and be dead asleep for 24 to 30 hours. On one of these occasions, I woke up with my ex's hand in my, let's just say, he left with one less tooth after I kicked him off of me. I kept a chair wedged against my doorknob after that. The entire time my family was unaware. He was a corrections officer and I knew enough true crime and statistics even though to know nothing would happen if I reported him. So I lived in constant fear and anxiety, wondering what would happen next. Once on another medication, I nearly died, so I stopped taking anything, despite my family trying to convince me the medications were helping. My blood sugar was the cause of what nearly killed me with the medication my family's trying to push on me, so I literally felt like I could not trust telling the truth to anyone. Then, another night, I had traded spots with my ex so he could sleep a little in the room and I could spend time with my family, who kept telling me I was being mean to him and should just get back together with him because he loved me. I remained silent and went back to my room the second I was done eating. Only I walk into my room, switch on the light, and my ex is sprawled in my bed. All of my dirty underwear he'd fished out of my hamper, scattered across my bed and wrapped around his face, tissues surrounding him. I cried all night that night and was inconsolable the rest of the time he was there. He started partying with my friends then, going out drinking, then coming home at 3 and 4 a.m., ringing the bell to be let in, waking the entire house. Waking. Yeah, this is fucking intense. This guy's fucking nuts. He started partying with my friends then, going out drinking and then coming home at 3 and 4 a.m., ringing the bell to be let in, waking the entire house, and causing my parents to constantly scold me for his irresponsibility. Then my brother's sweet 16 came around and we had a huge party for him and my friend's brother as they were 3 days apart. The boys got drunk. I sat by the basement stairs so I could escape while my ex sat in the corner texting me. At one point, he asked if his new girlfriend could come to the party and that's when I finally snapped. I collected all his things, threw them outside and waited until he stepped out with my friend to chat while my friend smoked and locked him out of the house. Another friend of mine stupidly let him back in, unaware of what was happening, and I instinctively did the stupid horror movie thing and ran upstairs away from him. He chased after me, cornered me in my doorway, and was about to hit me when my older brother, army-trained, stepped between us. My father came out of his room and demanded to know what happened. My ex started talking, but my brother interrupted and told my dad my ex had just tried to hit me. So my dad kicked his butt to the curb for good that night. Now, you may think this is the end of the story. You're dead wrong. This was just the first hill of our roller coaster. So strap in tighter, it gets bumpy after this. So this was all around 2006. That following year, I'm at a little geek club that meets once a month. A couple friends are with me, and then there, sat across from me, is my ex. But he's not alone. He's with a woman 10 years my senior who had previously been obsessed with me and wanted to be me. And I'll say this outright. I can be cool, but I am in no way anyone to emulate by any stretch of the imagination, so folk who do, creep the... I don't know what the... I'm gonna leave that out. That's kind of... There's a lot of, like, random asides that just kind of hard to get slipped up on. Well, we're at 600 people, guys. What's good? Yeah, this is weird. I'm amazed that it, like, took this long for the family to kick the guys to the curb, but I can't... Honestly, like, I can't believe the dad would even just... I don't know, based on the circumstances, just be cool, like with the guy living with him in general. I don't know, it's just weird. You need some fresh air? It wasn't bumpy before. Yeah, this is where he goes over the line. But he's not alone. He's with a woman 10 years my senior who had previously been obsessed with me and wanted to be me. She was so obsessed with being me, she started dating him, and he, wanting to get under my skin, wanted to make me jealous by being with someone I openly hated, but only managed to test my upchuck reflex. Upchuck reflex, Jesus. Winter with a 5 says, I love you guys. Thank you, Winter. We love you. Gracias for the 5. Thank you. She was so obsessed with being me, she started dating him, and he, wanting to get under my skin, wanted to make me jealous by being with someone I openly hated, but only managed to test my upchuck reflex. That was the day I told everyone what had happened and that he was dangerous. I stopped going to that club and never saw many of the friends there ever again for fear that they would tell my ex about me. Skip ahead about a month or so, and he has his new girlfriend, the creepy old lady I hate, calling my phone from restricted numbers, leaving voicemails on my phone that they were going to murder me and to stop telling lies or I would disappear. I didn't leave my house. I stopped showering so my parents wouldn't be able to drag me anywhere. I stopped living because I was so scared. Then the car showed up. About a year after I'd broken up with him, a car kept appearing every night under my neighbor's streetlight. We couldn't see who it was in. Oh shit! Yeah. Oh my goodness, Carrie with the 50 Canadian beaver bucks needed now. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Carrie. You catch me off guard with those sometimes because those big donuts, they kind of like don't pop up until I'm already like expected to be mid-twerk, you know what I mean? Clapping them cheeks. Thank you. Carrie with the big dono of the night here. I appreciate that. Muchos gracias. Thank you. Hope you're doing well in Canada town. Yeah, it's funny to listen to the noises while the astronaut twerks. Yeah, honestly, I love that animation. It was so funny because like when I was talking to Robin, he was going through some like pre-made animations. Like I was like, they have to have a twerk one for when people donate big, and lo and behold, there it was. And I was like, yes, this was meant to be. We all have to twerk a little bit here and there. Hey, what's up, Steve Bonk? Did you change your name? That's funny. Your art was deleted off the Discord, but I added the sketch of the monster. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know why it would be deleted unless it was like not safe for work or something like that, but I don't know. My voice went with the animation. Maybe that's me there, actually twerking. Motion capture. We couldn't see who was in it. Anytime we walked toward to see, it would take off. No one ever left the car. We saw someone eating in it. No one ever left the car. We saw someone eating in it off the dash. Rain and snow, it was always out there, all hours of the night. And finally we realized why. I smoke, have since I was about 17 and still do. It's a habit I can't break no matter how much I've tried. And despite this next event, I couldn't quit even to save my life. One night around January at 3 a.m., I was on the phone to my friend in Indiana. I had her tied to my head with my winter hat. It was snowing, and I went out for a smoke. I stood by the brick wall beside our front door, lit my cigarette, and noticed a car creep onto my street. I lived 2 houses in from the corner on a curve. I make mention of the car to my friend, then moved to the chair my father had set behind our large shrub because, despite the snow, it was clear and dry. There was a foot of snow on top of the shrub and our gas lamp set in the middle of our lawn, and were it not for these 2 things that night, I would not be typing this right now. The car creeped in front of my house as I gave commentary of it to my friend in a hushed tone. Then, as I said it had better not, the car came to a stop right at the end of my driveway. I hushed my friend a moment, and she laughed. Then came the bang. I heard it, and a moment later felt the force of it hit my chest. He had fired his service revolver into the air when he could no longer spot me. I was silent as my friend, familiar with gunshots, screamed over the phone to find out what happened. If she had just witnessed my murder, as I listened to him open his car door, pick up the shell from the freshly fallen snow, and close the door before peeling off down the street. I woke my parents. We called the cops. They told us they could literally do nothing, and any restraining order would only make it worse, and that despite him living literally across the street, illegally from the police station, they could not remove his gun from his possession because it was a service weapon issued to him by the state and mandatory for his job. I lived in constant fear and paranoia for the next year. Then the calls started coming from this quasi. She was crazy. Oh my god. She's so crazy. Your eye is leaking. Oh my god, what happened? It's losing all of its juices. You got the sugar eye. She didn't actually get shot. Like, he shot up in the air, and the casing fell. Yeah, I guess it would be a semi-automatic pistol or something like that. And the casing fell in the snow or something, picked up. But I think, like, what she felt in her chest was, like, the actual sound wave or something like that, like the bang. Because, guns are pretty scary things, and they produce a lot more than just a shot. Then the calls start coming from this crazy person that he dated after me, begging me to speak in court against him because he had done terrible things to her, strangled her, and much worse. 3 other women were going to testify, she told me. Ones he had put into the ICU twice, that had been friends of the friends of mine he'd partied with. I declined. I couldn't handle it emotionally. I also didn't want to give him any more reason to come after me and try to finish what he'd recently bungled. It took me traveling across the country to see friends I'd made online in a community that had helped me through all of this to finally stop being scared and start recovering. A few years later, I moved across country with my friend from Indiana. We lived out there for a bit before I wound up back home, and less than a year later, I met my ex-husband. It was winter, about 2013 or 14, when I got the most random call from my old friend, Tom. Our friend had died after a long fight with mounting illnesses. He understood what I hadn't come, why all the people there would only serve to upset me, they being the mutual friends of my psycho ex. Tom knew what had happened, was the only one who would believe me, and has always been there for me, before and since. So after telling me about the service for our friend, he tells me, "I have some news, though. I'm not sure you want to hear." I prepare myself and ask, and he tells me. It turns out our former friend, who staunchly took my ex's side and called me and every woman he came into near deadly contact with a liar, had some news for the group after the service. While they sat after eating supper, he informed everyone my ex was in federal prison. He had just been sentenced after about 6 months' investigation and trial and would be serving 14 years. His crime? He had answered a Craigslist ad requesting a man to turn out a woman's 12-year-old daughter, the woman being an FBI agent and the daughter not actually existing. They had him when he requested photographs of the girl, requesting certain images of this minor, but he went a step further, as he was apt to do, and crossed state lines when pictures weren't sent. Thinking the girl lived in Florida, he drove down there to be with her, and they caught him using his credit card at Disney World buying a tangled dress for the girl to wear while he had his way. I wept tears of joy that night. If you look him up, Jude Thaddeus... What? I don't know if I'm going to say. I'm not going to say his name. It's like a weird fucking name, and I don't even know how to say it anyways, but... I'm still recording shit. Shit, sorry. I can't, I press stop, but oh, there we go, okay. He had exhausted all possible appeals and had been denied. You know what, I'm gonna go back a paragraph here. I wept tears of joy that night. He has exhausted all possible appeals and been denied each time within the first year or two of his sentence. He still has half his sentence to serve and has been serving the entirety of it in solitary confinement due to his former profession and because he is a convicted... due to his former profession and him now being convicted. Okay, I see, yeah, sorry. He still has half his sentence to serve and has been serving the entirety of it in solitary confinement due to his former profession and him now just being convicted for what he just did. My family still lives in that same house, as have I since my divorce in recent years, but hopefully within the next 7 years, they will be moved away and safe, so when he gets out, he won't seek out further retaliation against me. He has been said to have openly many times proclaimed I was the reason why his life fell apart, not taking ownership for his own choices or actions, only getting progressively worse and more violent over the years. It still boggles my mind that anyone could be obsessed with me. I'm just so... It still boggles my mind that anyone could be obsessed with me. I'm just some fat kid from the Rust Belt, poor and ugly, but then looking for logic amid insanity is a losing battle. All right. That was a pretty crazy, wild roller coaster of a story for sure. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Jeez. Roller coaster. Woo, ooh, ooh, roller coaster of love. Love. What is love? Does anyone know what love is? Yeah, pretty dark story, but I suppose life is dark. You missed the little noise. Yeah, that's also a thing I need to get on a hotkey is the noise in between stories. Stewie. Okay. Moving on. This one's... I don't know how much better this one is as far as the darkness goes, but we will venture directly into it. Just be sure to hold somebody's hand, or you might get lost. In 2007, when I myself was 7 years old, my single mom began dating a man who lived in a campground, and she, my older brother, about 12 at the time, and I moved in with him. While most campgrounds are seasonal and not intended for residential use, this particular campground had a large area up front dedicated to campers, and a row of trailers in the background that people lived in full-time. Most of the trailers were occupied by elderly folks who wanted a cheap place to live that was close to nature, and there was only one other family there with kids my age. It was lonely during the off-seasons when no families came to camp, but during the summer, numerous families would stay there, giving me the opportunity to make new friends and, in some cases, reunite with families that would visit on a yearly basis. Summers in my campground were lots of fun for a kid my age. There was a large pool in the center of the campground, a pavilion that would host parties practically every night, and plenty of new people coming in and out as the summer progressed. However, this influx of strangers made my mom wary, and she was always stressed to me. Bridget Jones with the 2 says, life is very dark, Jogglypuff. Yeah. You're gonna need to bring a candle. Sydney with the 10. Just keep up the twerking. Thank you. I am expanding the thickness of my cheeks so the clapping is a feast. I don't know. I was trying to think of a rhyme. Expanding the thickness of my cheeks so my clapping can be at its peaks. Life is dark and so is my heart. Yeah. A strange reality we live in. Can only really make sense of it based on those around us, I suppose. And one thing we can agree upon is that positivity, being that person you want to be around to other people, is always just going to be a good idea, I think. Vanikin's art with the 2 says, I want to hold Pretty Kitty's paw in the darkness. He would enjoy that. He can see in the dark, so he'll lead you. He shall guide you. Maybe that's why the Egyptians had so many cats. Oh my goodness, Lils with a 5er. Out of the blue says, I love your videos, but I love your live streams even more. And let's not forget your rants. Yeah. Thank you, Lils. And the Pizza Hearts. I have not had, I feel like, a good rant in quite a while, but maybe there's just been nothing to rile me up. Maybe I've become unrantable. Is it possible, guys? Is it possible to even get me ranting? But thank you, guys. Thank you for the donuts, guys. Appreciate that. However, this influx of strangers made my mom wary, and she always stressed to me that not all grown-ups were nice, especially given how many were intoxicated during their vacation. Thankfully, I never really encountered anyone truly malicious in the 7 years I lived there. A few oddballs and more drunks than I could count, of course, but most people were either nice or simply kept to themselves. However, one summer, about a year or two after we had begun my tongue get a little tongue twister. Mr. Necron with the 20 big ones says, I love the show. Just wanted to clap some cheeks. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Mr. Necron. Make it rain on them. They're just like an infinite energy machine, an infinite pendulum of cheek clapping, just back and forth, back and forth. I don't know if you've seen that like Meat Canyon animation where Bugs Bunny's cheeks are just clack, 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 clack. Just imagine that, but into infinity. And there you go. Oh my goodness, holy cow, guys. You guys are freaking making it rain on me. Carrie with the $50 beaver buck dono Reno. Says, Joel, can I get a shirt? Shit. Yeah, shoot. I wish I wish that 50 dono would go directly to like the merch shop, because I would love that to be integrated in some fashion. But oh, you mean like the shirt off my actual back, potentially, like if I was some strapping young lad on stage, I could just rip it off and throw it directly at you. It'd be sopping wet, covered in snail juice, snail slime. And it creates a cocoon around you, and then you just you go to rest inside of that strip club that I'm working in. This is a guided meditation for ASMR, guys. And as that slimy shirt that I ripped off my body starts to form that cocoon around you, 6 months you sit there as various truckers and other beautiful people come in and out. But at the end, you burst forth as a beautiful, gorgeous, majestic, butterfly-like human that initially terrifies everyone, but then eventually you work also in the strip club right next to me, and we fucking high five. It's gonna be sick. But when we high five, there's a bunch of like slime in between, so it's like. Jessica with the 20 big ones as well says, listening to you is the best part of my week. Thank you, Jessica. Half the shit I'm saying, it just literally all over the place. I don't even know. Please rant. Oh yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it's like the shit that I would rant about actually has to get me all steamed up, other people's decisions, unless it actually affects my life. They can make their own decisions, I don't mind. And Nightmare Files with the 15 big ones. Thank you, Nightmare Files. How are you doing, my friend? Any new videos coming out? Guys, please go subscribe to good old Nightmare Files. They have been patroning the stream and YouTube channel for quite some time, so I do really appreciate that. Thank you for the 15. Cuckoo!
Hey, listen.
And Sarah G with the 2 says, when are we getting the Let's Read erotica? That's a great question, honestly. I really need to get on top of that for the, I really do need to get on top of that.
Listen.
For the Patreon. But, like, I don't know why I haven't just, like, made it happen. Maybe, like, once I get the creepypasta tier set where it's, like, $1 and then $5. Also, I was thinking, like, Jensen had a great idea. He said, for people who are members, like, I don't know if you can post MP3s on a community tab for YouTube, but I know you can post unlisted videos, so I'm sure I could, like, easily render, like, a really quick, like, or quickly render, like, a creepypasta that would be in addition to, so that people on Patreon could get, like, the additional creepypasta, but also the members that are on YouTube could also benefit. Because I do want people that are members on YouTube here, part of the Buttersock cult, to, like, get something in return, but I just, like, hadn't figured out, like, a really efficient system in which to do that. But Jensen said you just, like, post it unlisted and then basically post it in your community tab as a video that's specifically for members only, and you could do that, like, once a month. And I think that would be pretty solid, and nobody would get too spanked up about that. Because sometimes I would post in the community tab, and I think it would, like, really annoy people. You know what I mean? Venikins with the 2 says, give me your sweaty snail-smelling t-shirt and bee socks. Butter, slime, man. That place, my changing room is just stinky. Very, very stinky. I missed the other dono from Nightmare Files? Oh my goodness. Nightmare Files, I'm very sorry. Let me scroll down. Okay. Where is it? Huh.
Hey, listen.
I don't see anything other than, unless that was like a comment that was just catching up, but I don't see another Nightmare Files donation other than the one that was about 4 minutes ago. But please at me to let me know, because I unless it showed up twice, I'm not sure. It only showed up once on mine, but either way, I do really appreciate it. Mr. Necron with the 2 says, dead astronaut shirt, please. I do, yeah, if you go to shop.spreadshirt.com/letsread, there is merch there that has all of the cool, badass, my avatar, and a lot of custom art on there that you can pick from. And I actually have, I should post about the merch more often. Honestly, if you guys do buy merch, please do send me, either on Discord or wherever, like, pictures of you wearing the merch, because I'd love to promote it on Instagram and Twitter more often. But thank you, Mr. Necron. Thank you. And KC Dobbins, that's a cool name, with the 5 says, did you mention Joel Juice in every stream? Lol, seriously though, I love your content and it makes me smile. Thank you for your hard work. Joel Juice is just, it's an ever-present medium in which the universe exists, and they talk about dark matter, but they often forget, scientists that is, the fools they are, is Joel Juice. You always wondered, what is gravity? What is gravity? Is it dark matter? And, imparting its, physical reality upon other matter that we don't even see? No, it's Joel Juice. It's right in front of you guys. It's been here the whole time. Gravity doesn't exist unless I'm producing the juice, baby. Bay. Pradeep is actually cake, yeah. Oops, I kicked a bag and scared him. Whoops, I did not mean to do that. Did you ever it was really funny. Pradeep is kind of jumpy at times, and I don't know, I had a shaker bottle. A Dr. Disrespect shaker bottle, by the way. And I closed the bottle, and it didn't even really make any noise, but like all of a sudden Pradeep, like something in it made some sort of vibration that like triggered him into like insanity mode, and he just made a immediate beeline out of the room, and then just like stopped and walked right back in, got in his sleeping spot, and moved on with his life, you know? Just had a bit of a scare. Juicy. Alright, my friend, let us continue reading some spooky stories. Guys, thank you again for the generosity. That was really a series of massive donos, so I really do appreciate that and love you here. Sorry. There we go. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Moving on. So anyways. However, one summer, about a year or two after we had begun living there, a rumor had begun to spread amongst the kids in the campground. I was told that there was an elderly couple visiting that summer that had been caught a number of times staring into people's windows, following them at night, and even supposedly intentionally walking in on people as they used the public showers. I didn't take this warning very seriously, since scary stories told between kids were the norm in a place like that, and I personally hadn't encountered any creepy old people. I suppose word of this got to my mom because she reminded me to always close my blinds at night, just in case. Since she began to take it seriously, so did I, until the nights became unbearably hot, and I began keeping my window and blinds open at night in order to let cooler air into my room. I had gone days without any strange encounters, so I figured the rumors were simply rumors, and continued to leave my windows open at night. One night I was playing in bed with my Nintendo DS and watching old Disney Channel sitcoms at around 1 in the morning or so when I started to hear rustling outside. This wasn't particularly unusual, since we had outside cats who liked to play in the leaves, and it wasn't uncommon for deer, raccoons, coyotes, and other wild animals to pass through our yard, entering and exiting the woods behind the line of trailers. When you live in the country, the nights can be just as lively as the days due to wildlife. However, the rustling seemed to be much louder than I was accustomed to. Whatever was making the noise wasn't nearly as light of foot as a typical animal. My bed was directly in front of the window, so I would have to turn my body completely around to look outside, and I was simply too tired to do so, even if it meant catching a glimpse of an elusive coyote. After a while, the noises stopped, so they completely faded from my mind as I continued to play my game. About 15 minutes later or so, I heard an incredibly strange noise, however. It sounded like a fingernail scratching against the mesh of my window. I immediately started to feel anxious. The cats couldn't reach my window, and no wild animal would care to come that close to a bright window. Instinctively, I turned around to see what made the noise. Right outside my window was an elderly man, wide eyes and big, toothless grin, face practically pressed against my window. His expression wasn't at all what I would have expected. He looked so genuinely happy to see me, as if he had been waiting all that time for me to turn around and notice him. Instead of screaming for my mom or brother, I froze up, just staring at this face in my window for what felt like minutes, but was probably more like seconds, before I grabbed the blinds and rod and rapidly twisted, closing my blinds and throwing my blankets over my head. I remember trying to take shallow breaths, as though I were afraid he would hear me despite having already seen me. I tried to convince myself it was just a hallucination, or maybe even my own reflection distorted, but I knew that what I saw was real. It was inches away from me, separated only by a thin mesh screen. At some point, I must have fallen asleep because as soon as I woke up, I rushed to tell my mom what had happened. She immediately called the campground's owners, pretty close friends of ours, and they informed us that the old man, along with his wife, had already been kicked out. Apparently, after I closed my blinds and shut him out, the old man went to another trailer with an open window, one belonging to one of my neighbors who was also still awake. She called the campground owners, who immediately called the cops, and they evicted him, along with his wife, who was apparently making her rounds peering into the windows of the campers up front. They had been doing this for over a week and finally had been caught. To this day, I'm not really sure what their motives were. It could have been a source of perverse pleasure to them, or it could have simply been an exciting hobby of theirs, seeing how long that they could stare at people before they noticed. Regardless, this event shook me quite a bit, and it was a long time before I was comfortable enough to have my blinds open whatsoever. I was more than willing to suffocate in the summer heat if it meant not risking being spied on again. I lived in that campground for 7 years, and my childhood was certainly interesting due to it. I mean, what kid doesn't want to live in a place that's a 24/7 vacation? But the voyeuristic couple who came to visit me in the summer of 2008 definitely changed my perspective. Dude, that was like a really, not the, I mean, the story's scary, but that was a really well-written story. I don't know why, like, kind of gets my rocks off whenever a story is well-written, because I just, like, I feel like it's, like, almost like an art form, like, or, like, you're a surfer and you're catching, like, a really sick wave, dude, and it's just, like, the perfect wave. There's no, like, great white sharks or fucking shoobies getting in your way. You're just flowing, dude. So that was actually really sick. Valerie with the 5 says, thanks for making the end of my birthday great. You're welcome, Valerie. Happy birthday to you. Much love. I hope you had a good one. And Clara Jane May with the 5 says, one time I was walking home late at night and heard something screaming like a woman, and it terrified me. But then it turned out it was an owl. Yeah, those owls are, oh God. That is weird. I'm kind of curious, like, what an owl screech sounds like. I hope it doesn't blow people's ears off, but owl scream at night. Here we go. Where you at, Al? Maybe I gotta zoom forward. Oh, That's really funny. The video says headphones/speakers required. Well, that's good. I hope you have speakers. Oh, Well, maybe it's different now, because this one just sounds like a really, like, high frequency screech, I guess, but it's like, I don't know, it sounds very bird-like, like it doesn't sound like a human, you know what I mean? What if I said owl scream human? Barn owl. Okay, yeah, let's see what the barn owl sounds. Oh, shit. Sorry. Jesus Christ. That was fucking loud as fuck. Dude, why the fuck? Okay, that would be a little more terrifying, probably. Just immediately blew my ears out. I'm sorry, guys. Screech owls. Oh, there's screech owls too? Dude, there's so many variations of screaming owl people. There's a video game called Owlboy. Anybody ever play that? Scree! That's my ASMR right there for the night. Hey, we're at 700 people. Guys, thanks for being here. If you're chilling, thanks for being positive in the chat and being nice and creating a great community. I love that. But if you're just slurking, if you're lurking or slurking, please be sure to click that like button and share this stream out. Let YouTube know that this stream is badass and we need literally all 660,000 people in here at one time. Also, you guys heard that Ninja is streaming on YouTube, right? And I've been curious, like, how that's been going. Bobcat sounds like a woman screams. Interesting. I'm afraid to, like, click on another screaming animal video on the chance that it's gonna blow out your ears. Suck her punch with the 5 says, oh my god, I caught your live and in time for the nightly blunt. Hell yeah. I'd send more, but I'm kind of poor till Friday. Anyways, you're doing amazing, sweetie. Thank you, Sucker Punch. Enjoy your roly with a dab of ranch. You got them speakers on full. Thank you. Venikins with the 2s is Joel. No, for F's sake. My ears. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think I've completely taken people out of their lull, their sleep state at that point. It's just a jump scare, guys. Every horror narrator needs it. I'll just, I'll do the barn owl screaming between stories from now on. I think that'll keep y'all from falling asleep. Sadly, won't be awake at the... I think you said the scream reaches 1,000. We got to get the scream of the barn owl louder. How many are left? We actually got quite a few left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pretty decent amount. That first one was pretty long, and you know me, I get on a lot of sidetracks here. You're watering flowers outside? Nice. Wonder what time it is there. You must be in another part of the world, because it's dark here, but I guess it wouldn't be a bad thing to do late at night if you had some lights and you felt comfy. Hot Cheetos, lot time. Hell yeah. My roommate, he used to like eat hot, like really like spicy hot Doritos and fucking like Reese's cups mixed together. Oh my god. I don't know why it makes me laugh. It sounds delicious, but it's just like such a funny combo to have at nighttime. I'm a young female living in a big city in the United States. I don't make a lot of money, so I live in a poorer area of the city. One day after work, I decided to stop by Walgreens to pick up some junk food for a movie night with my boyfriend. I rely on public transportation to get around and often travel alone, so I am not afraid of walking by myself at night. For the most part, I felt pretty safe in the city until I had this experience. It was around 11 p.m. when I walked to Walgreens, and as I was looking in the freezer section for some ice cream, I noticed a guy lingering around me. I didn't think too much of him other than he must be buying some ice cream too, and that's why he's lingering. I grabbed my ice cream and some chips and headed to the checkout area. As I was walking down the aisle, I made my eye contact with the guy, and he gave me a creepy stare. I say creepy because his eyes were huge, like he had just done cocaine or some other type of stimulant. I was taken aback by his stare and picked up my pace to the cashier. I paid for my stuff and went outside to the red box, which was in front of the Walgreens, to pick out a movie. As I was browsing for a movie, I heard someone honking loudly, as if to get my attention. I turned around to see who the heck was honking, and I saw that creepy guy sitting in a white truck, just staring at me. I was so sketched out that I didn't pick a movie and just started walking in the direction of my apartment complex. The quickest way back was through the back parking lot of a closed burger joint. It was dark and no one else was around, so I quickly hurried toward my home. Unfortunately, the creepy guy started to follow me in his truck. My heart started racing as he got closer. He stopped his truck in front of me, blocking my path. I was shocked by the brazenness. I tried my best not to panic or show fear, but I was basically a deer in headlights, frozen in place. He rolled his window down and smiled at me, looked me up and down. I clutched my cell phone, waiting for him to say something. He asked, "Do you want to ride?" His words sent ice through my veins. Was this dude about to abduct me? Is he having a manic episode, drugged out and looking for someone to prey on? Thoughts raced through my mind, but I was still frozen. I managed to say no in a hushed voice, and then he drove off, almost speeding away. I fast-walked to my apartment, afraid he would turn his truck around and follow me home. I was scared to go to the Walgreens alone for a year after that incident, and would make my boyfriend walk with me. I was ashamed that I put myself in that situation in the first place. As soon as I noticed that creep checking me out in the store and honking at me in the parking lot, I should have went back into Walgreens and waited for him to leave. I was lucky he didn't try to force me into his truck because no one would have been around to help me. Stay safe out there and remain vigilant of your surroundings. You never know what kind of creeps are walking around at night. Did I mess up? I don't even know if I messed up. That's a full-on bonk. I may have messed up and missed it. And Venikins with the 2 says peacock sounds like a woman saying, "Help!" Yeah, actually, yeah, my grandparents used to have peacocks. And I would hear them like, "Help! Help! 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 Help!" Some shit like that. That was, yeah. Aren't peepops aren't peepops pretty wild down in the Floridian area? I was kind of curious, like, how far they migrate. Also, it's so crazy to think, like, Florida is like this tropical war zone of alligators and manatees, and not that those are scary, I guess, but peacocks. I guess peacocks aren't scary either, but they are certainly tropical. Transition sound. Okay. Okay. This is a scary story. And you guys best be prepared to be scared. Be prepared to be scared. That'd be funny if I started every video like that, just a super corny. Be prepared to be scared. Tim, thanks. Peacocks are everywhere in the road of Cocoa and Cocoa Village. Or Cacao. Huh. Flamingos. Warning. This is going to be... Oh. I don't know why people do that. Like, warning you it's going to be a long one. Like, they can just scroll down and gauge their reading abilities. I go to a university in the UK and live in the on-campus accommodation. There's a guy that lives in the flat next to my block, and we'll call him Kevin. Kevin used to be on my course, but was very rude to the lecturers and students. Nothing offensive, just rude, but, for example, he would often start arguing with the lecturers about the topics they were teaching. I won't say what course I do, but the point is the topics aren't exactly controversial, nor did the lecturers explain them in a very controversial way. Sometimes he would just put his hand up as if he was going to ask a question and just repeat what the lecturer had said back to them, but as if it was a question. Usually the lecturer would just confirm that he was right and go on with the lesson, albeit noticeably annoying at the meaningless interruption. Well, Kevin stopped coming to the lectures, and I later found out that was an 7651 account with the $3 says not peacocks but flamingos. Ah, okay, nice. Yeah, I saw a funny video earlier where it was just like a peacock like taking off from the water and beginning its sort of like speedy flight, but then it like its head ran into a like a low-hanging bridge. And then it was just like borderline like knocked out. I didn't actually get knocked out, but it was just like so dazed and confused. I felt bad for the poor thing. South Florida has iguanas fucking everywhere. Yeah, I remember going down to the Key West with some friends, and they were neat, you know, but they were a little bit aggressive because they would come up and then they would give you a tail whip, which I thought was pretty funny. You know, you would like reach out from them, they would just do like a whoocha, shasa, get the fuck out of here.
Hey, listen.
Tara Summers with the 5. Thank you, Tara. It's funny, the comment just says 5. Tara, if you did have something you wanted to write in the comment, be sure to just at me so I don't miss. If I don't miss. Spadey Datey, I'm in a real life bind. What kind of bind is that? Like an actual bind? You're inside of a binder? Or you're bound? You're bound up. Stewie will give you cool whip. Well, we just hit 800 folks. Welcome, welcome, 800 people. Beware, you're in for a scare. Well, Kevin stopped coming to lectures, and I later found out that there was an undisclosed incident, and he no longer is on the course. But that's not where it ends. I noticed he would still go outside to smoke, meaning he still lived on campus. A note about Kevin: he is an average-sized and built white male. He's a mature student, I'd say, probably around early 40s. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is unusual for someone that age to live on the campus accommodation. But again, nothing wrong with it, just slightly unusual. He also had spiked black hair that isn't styled. It looks like he was trying to have a spiky mohawk, but he has too much hair all over his head, and it's clear that the hair just isn't cut to be styled that way. And this gives him the effect of looking more like a bird or something rather than someone with a hairstyle. Now back to the story. I also heard that people who lived in the same flat as Kevin were really scared of him. The reason being is that he would bark loudly in his room, which was apparently for his mixtape, he said. This was apparently so jarring to them that campus security was called, and he argued with them so much that the police were called, and he argued with them too. I don't know if he was arrested or charged with anything, nor can I confirm the part is true. It may well have just been a rumor, but given what I'm about to tell you, I can easily believe it. Anyway, my class would often talk about where Kevin went, and one day we found that he used to be homeless. We knew this because one day he was in the library and typing an email. When he got up to go somewhere, someone from class caught a glance at the email. It basically detailed that he needed more money or something and that he has nowhere to go because he used to be homeless. At this point, we all kind of felt bad for the guy, and it's this information that led me to not call the campus security earlier. Well, some time passes and Kevin still smokes outside. I got to chatting with one of the cleaners in my block once, and it turns out she and some other cleaners are scared of him because when they would come into his room and clean it, he would ask them all sorts of weird questions in a vaguely aggressive way, like asking where their accent is from and acting strange when they gave an answer. It's at this point that I should also mention that Kevin has poor social skills. He kind of stares at people in the eye for too long, and his mannerisms are aggressive, which gives his rudeness and slight disheveled appearance, making him very intimidating. Well, anyway, my Roblox. Kevin used to love Roblox, like almost too much. Too many Roblox. He actually turned himself into a Roblox. Fennekins with the 5 says, I've grown to hate peacocks. Not only are they creepy a-holes at 3 a.m., plus them screaming, help! But the males floof up and block traffic on the roads to get chicks. That's hilarious. See, that's what we gotta do, guys, to secure the bag. We just gotta walk into oncoming traffic and just stick our feathers out. I'm looking for a lady friend. Where art thou? He kind of stares at people in the eye for too long in his misery. Okay, yeah, sorry. He kind of stares at people in the eye for too long, and his mannerisms are aggressive, which, given his rudeness and slight disheveled appearance, makes him very intimidating. Well, anyway, in my block, there's a long outdoor hallway, and me and my friend, who lives on the other end of the hallway, both had noticed that at nighttime we could hear someone shouting aggressively, but none of us could ever make out any real words. It also sounded like there were 2 people doing it, so the only thing we could imagine was that 2 men were arguing every night. It wasn't very likely, but it was our best guess. We'll cut to about a month ago, and it turns out it was Kevin. Just Kevin. I know this because when coming home one night, I heard the noise and recorded it. It sounded terrifying, like multiple people coming from one voice. I have since been through my window that is obscene, I have since seen through my window that it's definitely him just saying nonsense words and shouting them. I'll post the video after this. So if that wasn't creepy enough, today I woke up and was making breakfast. Kevin was outside smoking, and I was just looking outside. I'm on the ground floor, and he yelled, "You alright?" I didn't reply, just nodded my head a little. I guess he didn't see me because he then yelled, "Is there a problem?" I looked at him confused, wondering if this guy was serious. He walked over to my window and started yelling, asking if I had a problem. I eventually replied that I don't, and when he asked why I was staring, I told him it's my window and I can look out, all I wanted. He persisted and kept asking if there's a problem and if I wanted to come outside. Needless to say, I was shocked that this guy was really trying to fight me at 8 in the morning while I'm trying to make toast. Fed up with the situation, I told him I was calling security. This is where things got really annoying. I called security and they basically told me that they know all about him and they tried to assure me that he's not a threat. Well, that's nonsense. He's a 40-year-old man who's asking me to come outside and sort out a problem at 8 in the morning. How on earth is that not threatening enough? It's beyond me. Anyway, they did go and knock on his door, but he didn't answer, so they left. This annoyed me even more because if the rules were reversed, I'd probably be expelled for doing something like that as pretty much... Oh, I see. This annoyed me even more because if the rules were reversed, I'd probably be expelled for doing something like that, as would pretty much anyone. Then security came to me and told me the same thing, that they were doing background stuff to deal with him and that I'm not in danger and to just ignore him and call back if he tried anything again. Later that day I called and asked if they went back to him and they said they did and talked to him and that it's all been reported. But it doesn't sound like they're actually going to do anything. It's near the end of the academic year and people's accommodation contracts will be expiring soon, so I guess they're just going to let him leave when he's supposed to. I don't know if he moved course or was forced to quit and they just can't kick him out of accommodation or something. Hopefully nothing else happens, but if it does, I'll let you know. Goosebumps. Goosebumps was a great show. A lot of those. Honestly, what do you guys think was better, Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because I feel like Goosebumps definitely had more of like the sort of campy nature to it, sort of corny to a degree. I definitely still took it seriously and was spookified by it, but I feel like it's just like its general premises and the manner in which it was filmed felt very corny to a degree, but also fun. And I feel like Are You Afraid of the Dark? Are You Afraid of the Dark had more of like a serious tone and a little bit of more like a gritty, dark, like a much darker film style, like maybe almost a little bit more professional cameras. But I can't honestly. The weird part is like when it comes to the stories that were on Are You Afraid of the Dark, I can't say that I actually remember many of them, and I think it was because I was sort of terrified to watch it as a kid. I watched some of the movies, like when they would have movies, but Goosebumps are kind of childish. Yeah, yeah, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, top tier reading. Oh yeah. Yeah, I honestly can't really remember. I can't for the life of me. I can't for the life of me remember Are You Afraid of the Dark? Tales from the Crypt. Now that was a show. Yeah. What was the anthology show? Yes, Creep Show. Yeah, I love Creep Show. The first Creep Show anthology was so sick, dude. And I think I've told you guys this before, but I love that one about the monkey that lived under the staircase inside of the university that was inside of the cage, and it was from Antarctica. That was a fucking creepy movie. Can we stream Are You Afraid of the Dark somewhere? We could probably, you know how like if someone's watching it on Discord, they could stream it and we could all watch it inside of Discord. That'd be funny. Before I begin, I'd like to state that I am a paranoid schizophrenic. This will come into play later. This happened recently on July 6th at around 8 p.m. Fuck. 8 spam. This happened recently on July 6th at around 8 p.m., just starting to get dark when I happened to notice a man walking around my housing complex. I saw this on my security system with about 6 cameras in total. He was wearing a black hoodie with the hood up and a pair of ratty blue jeans, and he had a wild-looking beard. I see him walking around and think nothing of it until around 30 minutes later, I see the man walk around near my house and notice him walking a bit too close to my car for comfort. He then just walks away, and I don't see him for another hour. Sometimes my tongue gets caught on my mouth. On the roof of my mouth. He then just walks away, and I don't see him for another hour when I get an alert on my monitor with all of my security cameras that says there is a proximity alarm. I have each camera set to a different proximity alert, and the 2 garage cameras were set to around 15 feet away from the camera. At this point, it's dark outside, and the cameras switch into infrared mode where I can get a better look at this guy. He looked crazed and had a small grin on his face. It didn't look too obvious, but it was definitely noticeable. I kid you not, what he does next is downright terrifying. He looks up and then begins to stare into the camera with his wild-looking face and just sits there for a good 5 minutes. He then tries the rear left door and fails to open it, then tries the driver's side door to no avail. The crazed man begins to then knock on the window of the driver's side door and starts pounding on it after a short period of time. This guy was getting more visibly agitated and angry with every second he couldn't get into my vehicle. By this point, I'm already on the phone with the police, and they say they'll be at my place soon. I get off the phone with the operator and just continue to watch what this guy is doing. He's still trying to get into my vehicle and then stops and just stares into my car with no regard to anything else. After 10 minutes, 2 police cruisers come onto my street with their lights on and their guns drawn at the man. He looks at them and then starts walking toward them slowly. By doing that, the guy got tased. I assume the guy had a gun or some sort of weapon on him, because why else would 4 officers have their weapons drawn? Then, I could hear a loud scream come from outside. One of the officers got the guy in cuffs, and he turned his head back toward the main garage door camera, stares into it with the most deranged and insane look on his face. I gave the police a statement and a USB drive with all of the footage of what had just transpired, and I'm still waiting to hear back from the police. I am not allowed to show any footage from these events, as there is still an active investigation going on. In conclusion, thanks, Brain, for making me paranoid and installing security cameras. And to the insane man who tried to break into my car, I hope I never see that creepy face again. 7651 account with a 5 says, saw the recent Creep Show, and the episode Head of the House is creepy as fuck. Yeah, Creep Show's on that sort of Netflix of horror, Shudder. Not that this is sponsored or anything like that, it's not, but I kind of love that they've made like sort of a Netflix of like really weird horror / supernatural, sci-fi content as well. So, and they got all that shit on there, which is dope. You just thought of the Addams Family. Jennifer, you're doing homework. You better get that homework done. Sometimes I think about school and just how unbelievably worthless it is. Like, if you think about it, I'm not saying it is in an entirety, but I'm saying maybe, quite potentially, like, what percentage of school do you think is worthless? Like, obviously, from the time you're young, it's a great way to, in my opinion, socialize. Not saying that you're completely incapable of socializing if you were to homeschool or something of that nature, but like, you definitely pick up a lot of social skills by existing within a sort of school system. But man, I just think about, like, I look back on all of the time you spent, like, just being forced to be in a confined space, listening to someone talk about some nonsense you don't care about, that you'll never use, and like, even like math to a degree, like, for people that go on to do higher levels of math in college and beyond, and how it applies to various different points of degrees and stuff like that. I appreciate what they do, and I understand the necessity for it, obviously. But at the same time, the manner in which math sometimes is taught, sure, they have word problems and things of that nature, but it's like, I know it's difficult. They always see the meme where it's like, how do I reach these kids? How do I reach these kids? Like, uh, from South Park and whatever. But it's just like, it almost seems as if though you learn these concepts of math, you go through it through every typical, learning process, which is usually repetition. Repetition for the test, repetition for the test, repetition for the test, and you never get to experience the necessity for what that math is used for until it's kind of like forced upon you later on. Well, in a position in which is necessary, which is usually a career or something that's aimed towards a career. So I would say collegiate math makes sense, but before that, even though you're kind of setting the groundwork for those kind of things, I just wish that like the ability, because so many kids, like, you're either really good at math or you just fucking suck at it. And there is like an in between to it to a degree, but like, man, it's so wild to me how incapable throughout my entire life math teachers were able to convince me that what we were learning was of any use beyond my ability to, like, count how many fucking McMuffins I'm about to destroy. You know what I mean? Dude, it's just so weird. Like, it honestly, to a degree, I kind of just feel like school is a place to send kids to keep them, like, out of everyone's hair for the first, I don't even know, like, the first 18 years of their life. Obviously, you don't go to school till you're like 3, 4, or 5 or some shit, but just wild. And Venikins with the 2 says, when have you ever used long division in real life? Fuck if I know, dude. Isn't it weird that they don't teach you, finally some Joel rants, yeah, they don't teach, one thing, like, just a basic concept in schools, they don't teach you, just the basic shit, like how to save a fuck ton of money on your taxes, what taxes are, like how to do them, basic life skills that, like, a lot of, like, I mean, I just sound like a boomer now saying the same shit, but, like, and you guys all get it, but I mean, outright, like, shouldn't they be prepping you for real life? Because not every kid is, has the best, most dependent family life at home to help them, and then in which usually leads to a sort of a collegiate career, which then is another 4 years of borderline dependence, you know what I mean, or whatever. Like, I just wish that school would, like, teach a sense of independence, I'm not a victim of it, but I just look back and I think of all the things that, like, I don't know now even, and I think, like, how they could have essentially been presented in school and given you so many more skills that could have given you confidence in the real world. And it's really odd to me, you know what I mean? It's real. I guess that's, to a degree, a lot of it's like the parenting, but it's strange, like, I mean, there's just so many hours of your day just you're staring at a clock, and it's like, of course a kid's gonna get bored. Of course a fucking kid's gonna get bored in the worst environment ever. They're not engaged, and they're expected to just regurgitate through this sort of, like, systematic process, and it's just like, no, nothing good is going to come out of that. 95% of people say school sucks. School sucks is involved in, like, pretty much every, like, form of media ever. Like, every music video ever seen, they're just, like, waiting for the clock to get the fuck out of there. Like, shouldn't that, like, show someone somewhere that maybe the system should be altered, or maybe at least incrementally moved in a direction that isn't utterly useless, And honestly, to me, I mean, like, life is strange. Like, imagine, like, in the past, you had, hypothetically, and I'm sure it still exists today in various recesses of the world, but, like, you had, tribe-like systems, and I'm sure there was a degree of schooling and things of that nature, but, like, it wasn't most of the time you were kind of just training your life how to exist within life, and I feel like life was a lot more active. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore, but basically the whole thing just seems like it's a place to just keep you confined until you go nuts, and, like, some students are better at that, most students are terrible at that. They can't be confined. They're just a moving ball of metabolism that needs to explode at all times with how many hormones are going through their brain. They can't be learning about fucking George Washington anymore. I mean, they can. I mean, it's nice to learn about him, I guess, but at the same time, like, tell me one person that actually gave a shit about history and, when they were 10. Maybe some. Cheyenne Dory Bob with the 10. Thank you so much. I have ADHD and math was the only subject I struggled. I had a geometry teacher say I can just fail because I didn't understand. He also said it was funny that I failed PSAT math portion by 1 point. Yeah, and that's the weird thing too, is that like some teachers, I pretty much remembered everything a teacher had ever said to me. Like, if they said some fucking like shitty shit, like if they said some bad stuff, like, it really sticks with you. You know what I mean? It like really affects your development as an individual, because your approval of the elder, in the sort of psychological sense, is really important. You know what I mean? And you don't even realize it. I'm sure it comes from all different perspectives of your peers and elders, but like, honestly, like, when a teacher is just a shit person to you, like, it just means that, I don't know. I have no idea how you can approach different things, but I mean, kids are, they're sponges, obviously, for learning stuff, especially when they're interested. And I'm sure many of us in our adult life are also sponges as well, where if we enjoy something, if we're enjoying it and we want to get better, we will get better, and we're going to absorb the information more because we're interested. It's just basic common sense, but like, I have no idea, like, what would be alternatives. I guess I have friends that homeschool. They're lovely, lovely kids, like the nicest kids you'll ever meet. And, they have each other as, like, friends. They have communities that they get involved in, sports and church and all that kind of stuff. So, like, there are definitely options out there, and things that protect them from certain social dynamics that could be a downfall for a young adolescent, but for the most part, I swear to God, man, like, school is like 85% a waste of your life. Even when you get to college, like, the system is still set up to like put you into crippling debt for something that I'm sure there's many people who go to college and they thought, like, why did I have to take, pickle tasting class, or, underwater basket weaving, as they say, and all that kind of shit. And it's just like, all because of some like arbitrary aspect of, somebody set up a curriculum. It's just so nonsensical. Because I think about, like, even my experiences as a nurse, like, school was hard as fuck. Obviously probably not as hard as like MD school, because I know some people go fucking insane going to medical school, and I'm thankful I never did that, because I see so many doctors that they can't clock in and clock out the way a nurse does, and they look miserable. A lot of them get involved in, like, get addicted to certain substances just to stay awake, and some of them end up in, like, weird orgies and shit like that just because they're, like, bored with their life. I don't fucking know. Anyways, the Illuminati, you get the idea. But, like, school was really, really hard. In my opinion, to a degree, unnecessarily hard, but I understand you're trying to vet certain people, and that's the reasoning. But, like, I learned everything I needed to know about my job on the job. So why nowadays we don't just have a degree, like maybe around the age of middle school, where people start to, or, early high school. And I know that they do have that with certain trades and stuff like that. But, like, why we don't have, like, apprenticeships when it comes to making decisions like that, and to a degree, like, why don't the companies, generate the sort of state, certified education that's necessary, because it would make sense if the hospitals or wherever you're working would determine your appropriate training, because most of the time 99% of everything you need to know, aside from the theory that you've learned previously that kind of familiarizes yourself with things, tends to be all that's really required of you once you get into the job. So every time I observe the education system and its sort of necessity, I am just met with a constant state of complete hypocrisy, because it's just it doesn't seem useful to me. It just generates debt for no reason. Hey Tara, thanks for the 5. The only perk about being an admin of a small specialized school is I have no problem skipping subjects and topics I know they won't need. No, that's good. Yeah, I respect that. It's a lot. Like, honestly, I think teachers should have a lot more autonomy when it comes to certain topics, you know what I mean? And I think schools in general should have that. Like, honestly, sometimes standardizing like everything when it comes to education, like life is a sort of like amorphous blob of like insanity, and I get the certain standards that people would want to maintain, but sometimes I feel that the prioritization of those standards are a little skewed or abnormal in my mind, or almost to a degree inefficient, you know. But thank you for the 5 Tara. And Jen with the 10 said, what are you ranting about now? Thank you for the 10, Jen. Oh, just George Washington, that's all. 900 people, yeah. Be stoked, my friends. Thank you for being here. And I'm sorry to go on a big old rant. Hey, Mr. Robin. What's up, my dude? You're just in time. I think we're actually about to get to some ghost stories here from the subscribers, so be a nice change of energy. What a perfect transition. Society is bad. Yeah. I guess it's just weird. Like, I've always had these theories where, like, we exist in a world where nothing has value, or there is no absolute truth unless the hive mind, the group that you exist around, your society, accepts that it's truth, you know, or that it has value. Whether that's, you know, money. You know, if someone handed you, like in, what's that game called? Like Fallout. Like, if someone in real life handed you bottle caps, you would laugh at them. But the fact that they hand you, like, pieces of, like, zinc and, you know, coated paper that isn't backed by anything other than, like, petrol or something like that, you perceive it as useful, and people do crimes for it and stuff like that. It elicits action because of the sort of group-approved perception of it. And in the same sense, I translate that over to the sort of like hierarchical standpoint that I see in society as well, where it's like, you know, if your boss fires you, you're fired. Now, technically, you don't have to leave, but like we've kind of come to a degree to a sort of accept that their authority is truth. You know what I mean? That it is of value, and therefore then it's always through like a sort of like a protocol. You go through the protocol, like, oh, he doesn't want to leave, you know, because he's fired. Well, let's get security. Security now has authority based on everyone accepting security as authority to take you somewhere off the premises, get you arrested, whatever it might be. And it all seems like logical in our minds, you know what I mean? And in the same fashion, like, you pay your taxes and things like that, and you know, nobody ever kind of like wants to look through why they're paying it. They just pay it because they're afraid if I don't pay it, I get in trouble. And I, having participated in this YouTube game for a while, have started to learn a lot about that kind of stuff, and come to the realization of how crazy it is. I pay exactly what I have to. I mean, I'm not lying about that at all, I promise. But at the same time, it opens your mind to the idea of just like, a lot of us kind of like blindly obey things just because the group accepts it as a necessary thing, you know what I mean? And it almost seems like a lot of us are more afraid to be ostracized or punished by the groupthink than we are able to think individually as humans. And that to me is so frustrating, because at the end of the day, the emperor wears no clothes. Cheyenne Dory Bob with the 5 says, why is it they failed you for not showing work and not making bubble maps or a rough draft? I got told I would fail if I didn't make up a false one. Oh, that's odd. I guess if you were able to come to the solution independently, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. Is, you know, people want to know how things are done, but really, I think, you know, once you get beyond school, it's all about the results. People care more about the end product than they do about how they got there. Mediocre Bid with the 10 says, what about a certificate saying I am not a dumbass, although my baby sister that just graduated in May is now an engineer and I'm so proud of her. No, yeah, I think that would be of equal value, really. Your device is set to restart outside of active hours. Oh, no, don't do that. Why would... Ooh. Schedule the restart. Why dude, fucking Windows, dude, that just like shows up and like, hello, we would like to ruin your stream. We'll finish installing updates when it's convenient for you. If your PC isn't available at your scheduled time, Windows will automatically find a good time to restart. Pick a time. When should we do it, guys? Right now? How about 7:45 a.m.? On Saturday. What am I even doing, guys? Why am I caught up in this right now? Fuck you, Windows. Eat poop. Okay. Enough of me ranting. Yeah, restart now. That would be... honestly, I was like... Sometimes it does that, dude. It's just like, hello, we are in charge of your life, and we'd like to restart your entire... Let's reboot, yeah. Hey, Alex is back. What's up, man? Yeah, but I'm trying to think of my waking hours are relatively nocturnal, so it's like I go to bed whenever the sun comes up because I'm a fucking vampire, which is mainly just from years of working night shift. Alright, guys, enough of my pointless philosophies and frustrations with the man. The man. And woman, too. The woe man. But we move on, okay? Now for some paranormal shit. Blake Alejandro with the 5 says, throwback to when my freshman algebra teacher called my mom to ask her if I was mentally disabled because I didn't fully understand the homework. Holy shit. Hi, Mrs. Alejandro. I was just curious, is your son, does he know his way around a calculator? I'm just kidding. Thank you, Mr. Blake. Appreciate that. Wow, Luigi. I'm 54 years old now. As a teenager, I lived in a small town in central Virginia. Our town had less than 2,000 people. I was 17 in 1983, and one of my best friends, Chris, lived across the street from a peculiar house. When I first moved to the town in 1980, a family lived in the house and their daughter had been friends with Chris. Her name was Joy. Joy told Chris that every member of her family had seen ghosts in their home. Fuck. Hold on a second. I think Pradeep wants out. Let me let him out real quick. He starts doing leg rubs. Okay, sorry about that interruption. Perdizzle deep, baby. I never really knew that. Wait, it was assumed that the. Oh. Joy told Chris that every member of her family had seen ghosts in their house. I'm not sure if anyone believed them, but one night the whole family piled into the family car, took off to a motel, and never returned to the house. It was assumed that this was a reaction to another supposed ghost encounter. I moved to town and became friends with Chris the same year Joy's family took off. I never really knew them, so all of that previous information was secondhand to me through Chris. Joy's old house remained empty. By empty, I mean no one bought the place. Actually, the house still contained most of the furniture and a lot of the family's belongings. They had literally grabbed what they could carry and left. Chris and I and our other friends liked to poke around in the house to see what we could find. Over the years, kids had thrown rocks and broken every window in the house. Every square inch of the floor upstairs, downstairs, and on the staircase... We're at 930 people. Will we get to 1,000 by the end of the night, my friends, my friends, my friends? Every square inch of the floor upstairs, downstairs, and on the stairway was covered in broken glass. Like most houses in our town, there was little to no carpet inside, just bare wood flooring. One day in October 1983, Chris and I decided to skip school. We did this way too often. It's not like getting a real day off because we had stayed out of sight. Our small town was full of nosy people who would turn you in for skipping. In such a small town, most people knew your parents. This day, Chris and I decided to hide upstairs at Joy's old house. There were still beds and furniture upstairs, and we carefully sneaked in and plopped down upstairs to read, talk, and nap the day away. Early in the afternoon, we suddenly heard footsteps downstairs. Heavy footsteps that crushed the broken glass with each step. We immediately thought someone had heard or seen us through a window and was coming to bust us. This old house had vents built into the floors so that heat from the downstairs would float up through the vent to upstairs. The houses in that part of Virginia were built in the early 1900s, and a lot of the houses in the area had these vents. They were basically I'm very small. They were basically just an ornate grill covering a large hole in the floor about a foot square in size. As we heard the footsteps crushing glass directly below us in what used to be the living room, we carefully peeked through the vent to try and see who was downstairs. With the footsteps directly below us, we could see no one downstairs. Then, suddenly, the footsteps were upstairs at the top of the staircase, right outside the door. Chris and I whispered quickly that we would fling the door open, act surprised, and act like we were just passing by when we thought we heard kids in the house, so we came in to investigate. So we walked to the door of the bedroom. The footsteps had walked right up to the door and stopped. We opened the door and there was no one there. Chris and I stood silently looking at each other, confused. After a moment, we began searching the house, the entire house. No matter what room I was in while searching, I could hear Chris in another part of the house because the crushing of glass was so loud. Finally, Chris went outside and completely circled the exterior of the house. From the inside, I could hear him circling the outside because the house was surrounded on all sides by trees, and there was a thick blanket of crunchy, dry leaves all around. With no windows intact, it was easy to hear the crunching leaves from anywhere inside. We both had heard the same thing. The footsteps were heavy and made by something with two legs that sounded like standard human walking. Whatever it was had enough weight to crush glass underfoot, and after the fact, we realized we never heard the footsteps. We never even heard the footsteps upstairs. We never even ate any Cheetos or barbecue chips. After the fact, we realized we had never heard the footsteps upstairs. They went directly below us to right outside the upstairs door. The house was completely empty, but we would have heard someone approaching or leaving the house because of the dry leaves. Neither of us believed in ghosts. We won't say what we experienced was a ghost. What we will say is that in all these years, neither of us have been able to come up with any other logical explanation. I'm still in contact with Chris thanks to social media, although we haven't been face to face in 33 years. After such a long time, you can begin to doubt older memories. You can wonder if you are mentally embellishing these things. Chris and I have not shared this story with many people. They would tend to think that we were lying or imagining things. When I told my wife this story a few years ago, I contacted Chris and asked him to give his version of these events. I only asked, "What do you remember that day we skipped school at Joy's house?" His story was identical to mine, to my relief. Joy's house was demolished in 1984. Today, the wooded area around it has grown so much, there's no sign a house was ever there. One of your neighbors is roasting a chicken and you're jealous. Go ask him to join in. Alright, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 more stories. And then that will be it. That will be it. Those will be the stories for the night. I hope you have enjoyed so far. We still have probably another half hour to go. So stick around. And we will read a spooky shadow person story. I'm a 25-year-old female, and for as long as I can remember, I have always been terrified of the dark. So to be able to fall asleep, I have to have some sort of dim light illuminating my bedroom, like a nightlight or the television. Now that there's some backstory, here's the first part of my story. This event occurred when I was around the age of 7 or 8. My best friend at the time, we'll call her April, was spending the night at my house. She was sleeping in my bed with me and told me the morning after that she had awoken in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. But when she turned over to get out of bed, she noticed something. There was this black, humanoid mass pouring out of the ceiling over my sleeping form, its face a mere inch away from my face. April had described it as this weird, bubbling black smoke. I was angry and asked her why she didn't wake me up. She replied that she was just too scared, and when she hadn't seen it, she couldn't... She replied that she was just too scared, and when she had seen it, she couldn't move out of fright and just shut her eyes trying to go back to sleep. Honestly, I can't really blame her. I'll skip forward to a few years back. I had completely forgotten about that incident when I was a child. My best friend, whom I've known since junior high, we'll call her Kyrie, and I were reminiscing about our teenage years. She had brought up a time when we were about 15. She was staying the night in my house. We were sleeping in my living room, her on one couch and me on the other on the opposite side of the room. The only light that was on was the stove light in the kitchen, adjacent to my living room, so you can pretty much make out everything, albeit with a little difficulty. Kyrie had relayed to me that she was awake for a few hours after I had drifted off to sleep, since my house had always freaked her out. At some point during the night, she rolled over to face my side of the room and almost peed herself at what she had seen. There was a pitch-black humanoid funger, fucker. Okay, get that out of my system. Just kidding. It was standing at... Oh, fuck, I fucked up again. Okay, there was a blib, blap, blue, 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 blue. Also, if you guys ever hear any of your stories or if you hear a story of yours being read, please let me know in the chat. That would be very cool. That would be super, super duper cool. Super mother frickin' fragilistically cool. Oh, you think you're so funny, but I think you drool. There was a pitch-black humanoid finger... Fuck! Why can't I say this word? There was a pitch-black humanoid figure hunched over my face. It was standing there at the end of the... Okay. There was a pitch-black humanoid figure hunched over my face. It was standing at the end of... Ugh! I don't know why I'm so tongue-tied right now. Okay. Chris, you peed yourself? I'm very sorry. Oh, Esperalis, I read yours. It was the campground story. Thanks for... Oh, nice, yeah. Sick. Cool. There was a pitch-black humanoid figure hunched over my face. It was standing at the end of the couch and seemed to be just staring at me, only inches away from my face. She had said it was huge. It would have been as tall as the ceiling if it had stood up straight. Kyrie meekly told me that she had just simply turned back over and tried to forget about the terrifying figure looming over me, hoping she had simply imagined it. I instantly remembered the experience I had with April in my childhood and told her of it. Keep in mind that Kyrie and April had only spoken to each other over a handful of... I'm drunk. Drink some milk. I wish I had some milk. Dude, I miss drinking milk. I miss chocolate milk. God, I miss chocolate milk, dude. Chocolate milk was the shit. I sound bored. I don't think I'm bored. Sometimes the stories... A lot of the same stories, you know, sometimes. It would be kind of cool to read some badass sci-fi. That would be sick. I instantly remembered the experience I had with April in my childhood and told her of it. Keep in mind that Kyrie and April had only spoken to each other a handful of times and were never at all close. So, how they had seen the exact same thing 10 years apart, I will probably never know. I still think about this coincidence every now and then, and I truly hope that whatever was watching me sleep is long gone. Strawberry milk bonks. Yeah. It does bonk pretty hard. Sci-fry. This is one of my favorite channels and got me into story stuff in the first place. Thanks, man. You have the best voice on YouTube for this. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate that, buddy. You're listening to this while playing Empyrean. What is Empyrean? I've never heard of that. Chalky Milky. I forgot about that. High school makes you hate chocolate milk. Yeah. Dude, it was kind of weird. Yeah, I think I had mentioned before back in like school I would like... I don't know why. I always felt like I never had enough liquid for my meals that they like the shitty dry shit that they gave you. Dry white dog shit. It was just like... They would give you like a small thing of orange juice and then a larger thing of, chocolate milk or whatever the fuck. But like I was pretty much actually back in high school, I think I was bigger than I was now, you know what I mean? Just because I was a big old boy. And like, a small thing of orange juice and a slightly, 1.5 times larger chocolate milk just didn't satiate the desire for liquid. And now I know most people would say, well, why the fuck didn't you drink water? Well, listen, water just didn't strike that certain tantalizing taste bud that Chalky Milky did. And I kind of wish that they had Chalky Milky that was like a full-on gallon. You could just get a gallon of it every day. Fuck it. Then you get to your last period and just fucking projectile vomit. Big boy. Cheyenne Dory Bob with the 2 says, can we have some Dogman stories? Shit, I wish. I don't think anybody really has experiences with Dogman too often. When I first started streaming on here, I remember I was reading a like a Dogman creepypasta, which was sick. And they actually even had like a video of like some dude on an ATV and a Dogman like running up to him, and it looked kind of real, but it also kind of looked like a fucking bear. But the way that it was like, I don't know, just the way that it was shaped definitely looked different than like a typical grizzly bear, but it definitely ran as fast as a grizzly bear and looked almost leaner, more muscular. Wow, your school feed you better than mine. We just got bird seed and water. The hummingbirds cheerleaders got sugar in their water. That's funny. Steve is a dog man? Oh my gall. Oh my gall. You know what was really funny? When I went down to the South, to South Carolina, I noticed, and I don't know if it's just a South Carolina thing, but I just noticed like everyone down there would say OMG, like instead of like oh my god or oh my goodness, like just something, they'd be like OMG, like they were talking in text. But it was like a lot of like, it was like probably 4 or 5 different girls who I'd heard them say OMG, and I don't know why, it was just like really funny to hear in like a southern accent, like OMG. Because I can imagine down there, like, people give each other probably a frequent amount of shit for saying God. You said God. You took his name in vain, even though that's not the context of what that says. But I can imagine, Do I like YouTube poops? Isn't that like a meme compilation or something? Samuel with the 2 Aussie bucks says, can you do a Dagoth impression? That sounds so familiar. What is a Dagoth Is that from Skyrim? Dagoth. Let's see. You will burn for eternity now. Complete Dagoth quotes.
Friend or traitor, come.
Oh.
Come and look upon the heart and
Come and look upon the heart. I need like an echo. Let me see.
Kulakar. And bring Wraithguard. I have need of it. Come
And bring Wraithguard. I have need of it. I am a strong man. I am a strong man.
to the heart chamber.
To the heart chamber. It's not quite the same, but...
I wait for you there, where we last met countless
I wait for you there where we last met countless times before.
ages ago. Come to me through fire and war.
Come to me through fire and war. Can I do a spaghetti impression? Spaghetti. Spaghetti. Cigarette juice. Dude, Skyrim was the fucking shit. This is about Skyrim? Yeah, Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Dude, I don't know why. I got so pulled into that game. It's still good. Yo, it's still good. When's my birthday? It was back in early June. We did a whole stream on it. You can if you guys ever want to check these streams out like after the fact, you can go to there's a playlist called streams, and basically all the videos are unlisted, but they exist in the streams, and you can go through and find I think they're listed as like most recent from the top. Alex, have you never seen Tim and Eric and Spaghetti? You need to look that up, man. Carlos B with a 5 says, can you say the phrase, midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it again. Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark. Inferno. Also send some greetings. Love. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you. Yeah, I read a little bit of Inferno back years ago. And
Hey, listen.
I kept like sort of waiting in Inferno for them to reference like Jesus, you know what I mean? And I don't remember if like he does or if like there's some sort of light energy at the end that like gets him out of it or whatever. But like I don't like isn't the Inferno like one of the most influential works within like Catholicism since I guess essentially the Council of Nicaea and the Bible, you know, the Bible books and stuff that they've chosen for them. But like I don't know. Tim and Eric was the epitome of my pet peeves when I was young. That's funny. Yeah, I could see why Tim and Eric would be really annoying to people, but it was probably at its peak for me. High school, going into college, and then college, and it was just so like abnormal and strange that like a lot of the skits I thought were really funny. Like one year, me and my buddy, we dressed up as pumpers, and I was Eric Wareheim and he was Tim, and I had to find like the perfect like colored, you know, like bluish, you know, teal, not teal, but like it was like a light blue hoodless sweatshirts and like short like yellow shorts and stuff. And oh man, it was funny though, because at the one party that we went to for Halloween or whatever, we were doing our pumper routine. Like we had a whole routine figured out from Tim and Eric and stuff, and we're doing the pumpers, and he got up in like a wheelbarrow on my shoulders and stuff, and we wheelbarrowed around. I don't know why. I think that was part of it. But then we went to like a rugby party afterwards, and like all the rugby guys were just like belligerently drunk, and it was not fun anymore. Because the one dude just kept trying to start some shit. He was trying to start some shit. And I gave him a pump. I pumped him. Oh, you saw them live? You saw Tim and Eric live? That's badass. You know, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of classic Tim and Eric skits. I love the one with Paul Rudd. He's like, computer, can we get Tane smiling? And then, yeah, and then I guess that's where the reaction shot where he's like, what is it again? Yeah, I forget. Basically, he like wants to see it naked or whatever, but like the programs that he's running are just of him dancing, which is just so fucking funny. And then he just like, he's like taking a sip of his drink when he sees himself naked, or he's like, oh God, oh. And he like spits it out, and he's like, and I'm good. And I'm okay. Which has now been used as like the reaction for like every terrible thing you see on like Reddit or what the fuck. But then you're like immediately good to go again to look at more fucked up shit. Alright, my friends. Roman, thank you for the 2. Says, I love your channel so much it helps me 3D print. Oh, that's cool. 3D printing some McDonald's meat. I wonder when that's going to be a thing. 3D printing like meat. It's got to already be a thing. I probably just like subconsciously lodge that into my brain from hearing about it before. Virgil and Dante climb down Satan's body to leave hell and arrive in Mount Purgatory. Oh, It's also kind of interesting because, like, purgatory within Christianity only exists within the Catholic, like, sect of Christianity. But, like, purgatory within, like, the sort of evangelical aspect of Christianity doesn't really exist or isn't explicitly mentioned. And I never knew this idea because I grew up, like, going to, like, more of the, I guess, Protestant type churches and stuff like that. And the purgatory, like, the Catholic Bible has, like, quite a few, or maybe not quite a few, but a few, like, additional books that are otherwise not in the conventional Protestant Bible, which, I don't know, I just thought it was interesting, all the differences. There's so many different, like, sects and branch shoots and boots and scoots of all that shit. Pretty much every religion has, like, some sort of, like, branching off somewhere. It's crazy. Hey, Ches, welcome. I must first tell you that I am now 18, and when these occurrences happened, I was 12 or so. However, I remember every detail to this day. The setting of my story is at my grandfather's house in the year of 2014, and my main parental figure at the time was unfortunately my mother. She, my sister, and I have been borderline homeless and kept away from our father for the majority of our lives. However, my grandfather on my dad's side was our only suitable living option with whom my father stayed with when he was not working out of town. During our stay, which only lasted a couple of months, I was going through a very dark period of time. I was depressed and stressed about things that no child should be stressed over. I had no one, and in response to these very mentally damaging emotions and thoughts, I decided to reach out to someone whom I've never even gotten the chance to meet, my father's mother. She had died due to a heart attack that was the result of taking too many gas station caffeine pills. She was addicted to them. My father and aunt both watched her die. She had lied down after arguing with my grandfather and didn't feel so well. When the pain got worse, she woke up and called for help. She had died before the ambulance could arrive. My other brother... I got lost. Like, I scrolled down and then I lost my place with my eyeballs, because my eyeballs stink. They stink so bad. They smell like poop. Carlos, B with the 2 says, yeah, he sees God but never explains if he leaves. Ah, okay. So that's kind of neat, though. It's kind of like ambiguous concepts. Okay. It's so weird. This one person over DM like keeps sending me like this ARG of like some sort of strange cult that they're a part of. And I feel like they even said that they're not actually part of it, but they keep like playing the role of like this weird cult recruiter. And it's just creepy because they keep sending it. And I was like, I don't give a shit about your ARG strange little game that you're playing on Reddit with a fake cult. But it's quite strange. Carlos with the 2 says, also, thank you. Keep me awake through homework. Oh, nice. I'm glad I can keep you awake. Some people have conditioned themselves to pass out. My older brother was not even born yet when she passed. I've only heard stories of her from time to time and always craved to know more about her. I think that goes with any relative that you never got to meet or that died at a young age to where you can't remember them. I would talk to her every day and every chance that I had, just telling her about my day and asking about hers. I didn't have such a clear stance on if ghosts were real or not at this time, but I just needed someone, and for some reason I chose her. I've always been very closed up, but I felt her presence, or at least I manifested it. I would cry to her and silently scream on my really bad days. I would always leave my room after doing such with this extreme questioning. I questioned whether she was even there listening to me. She helped me regardless, and at the time, I was okay with pretending that she was there for me. During these talks, I would also beg my grandmother to show herself to me, that she could trust me. This went on for months. I was basically granting the other side access to feed off of me, which is why this experience haunts me and leaves me questioning if it was even her. All I wanted was to see her. One night during our temporary stay, my sister and I were extremely hot in our tiny room that was both shared with, which was what... Oh, sorry. How many stories are left? So this is one. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3. So including this one, 3 total. You work graveyard shift and Let's Read is a part of my routine. Nice. I'm glad that they let you listen to stuff on work. I hate jobs that you know you can work with listening to something in the background, but they're like, nope, that's unprofessional, and you need to be attentive at all times to random pointless bullshit that you could just pause the video and address. Dude, if I was manager of the whole world, you'd be allowed to listen to any Let's Read you want. Hey, Electronics, what's up, bro? How art thou? What is it? Meet up, hand-to-hand, body to your face, put your face... What the hell? Sorry, I'm like trying to read text sometimes and I feel like people just type garbledy-goop in there, which is fine. I don't mind garbledy-goop. One night during our temporary stay, my sister and I were extremely hot in our tiny room. My voice cracked. My voice cracked. Dude, I'm good. Alec, that's sick. One night during our temporary stay, my sister and I were extremely hot in our tiny room that we both shared, with which was only a... Dude, why can't I read this fucking sentence? Jesus Cripes. One night during our temporary stay, my sister and I were extremely hot in our tiny room that we both shared, with which was only occupied with a single twin bed, a dresser, a bookshelf, and a lamp. My sister and I were so exhausted with having to take turns on who would sleep in the bed and who would sleep on the floor. I always had to sleep on the floor, but it was a worthy sacrifice. It meant that she could sleep comfortably. We decided that we were going to sneak into our aunt's room and be rebellious along with comfortable sleeping benefits. Now, the way that this house is set up is that there are 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom in the hallway on the left side of the house. The hallway connects to the living room, which leads into the kitchen. There is a separate doorway with a door that leads to the laundry room, garage, and a flight of stairs that leads to the only upstairs bedroom isolated from the rest of the house. This upstairs bedroom was my aunt's room. My sister and I, giggling and scared that we would get caught and or wake up my aunt, quickly walked through the dark house. My young sister led the way. As we got to the flight of stairs, I got this eerie feeling, but it didn't last long. I just brushed it off as me being scared of the dark in general. As she entered the room, I stopped at the very top stair. The entire room was pitch black. I couldn't see anything, and I had lost my sister. The only thing I could hear was my aunt's very loud box fan whirring throughout the room. I started to panic as I called out for my sister's name at least 3 times. I was trying my best to feel around the back of the bedroom door to see if she was there because I couldn't see where I was and didn't want to wake my aunt up by tripping over something while sneaking into her bedroom in the middle of the night. That's when my hearing went out. I do not know the term, but my ability to... I do not know. I don't know the term, but my ability to hear slowly muffled, and all there was silence. Something told me to turn around. I don't know what, but something did, and this is when I really felt like a small 12-year-old child. There before me, on either the 3rd or 4th step, was who I assume was my grandmother. She was so tall. She seemed so tall. She was the darkest shade of black I had ever seen. The room without her was already pitch black to where I couldn't see anything. I could see her perfectly, though. The only detail I could make out of her figure was what seemed to be the end of a nightgown of hers that I actually have and wear sometimes, and some of her hair strands were individual and flowed around her figure. Imagine the character from the movie Mama, except just a silhouette with long hair and some strands sticking out and flowing. That's what she looked like. She looked young. She just stood there looking at me. Granted, I couldn't see any facial features, but she was clearly there for me to see. I felt caught off guard at first, and then at peace. I can't explain the peace I felt just looking upon her. Imagine most people would be traumatized. God damn it. I can't explain the peace I felt just looking up at her. I imagine most people would be traumatized, and I was definitely kept in place, but I did not feel danger at the time. I was also confused. I just stared at her, taking her in. While still unable to hear, I went towards the black tall figure that I thought was my grandmother and actually reached for her hand and tried to take her with me. My mind was saying that it was her, while also thinking it was my aunt because they look so similar in present day, comparatively speaking. I also called her by my sister's name while trying to take her with me, but when I reached for her arm, she disappeared into thin air. I'm glad I didn't fall down the stairs. I was so shocked that she wasn't coming along, and I was also hurt. I snapped out of whatever zone I was in. My ability to hear came back the same way it left, muffled, and then progressively got clearer until the fan was loud again. At that exact moment, my sister grabbed my wrist and said almost in a frustrated tone, "Come on, Ainsley, what are you doing?" I went to bed that night wondering what had just happened. Months later, I was telling the story to my aunt, and she mentioned to me that the month in which this occurred was also the month that my grandmother had died. I've also asked myself whether or not my mind simply made the figure up to fulfill my request of seeing her, but I wasn't even focused on her during this time. In fact, I had stopped talking to her for weeks, maybe a month or so, because it no longer helped me. It wasn't until years later did I find out that spirits and even demons will take the form of who you were calling to feed off of you and inflict pain or harm, to manipulate you. Me calling out to who I thought was my grandmother was basically leaving a door wide open for the other side, and I do believe that evil could have taken the figure of her. The only reason I'm torn is because this figure not once tried to harm me, just simply observed me and disappeared. My grandfather's ex-girlfriends have also reported seeing my grandmother and believing her to be my aunt only for her to disappear once they flipped the light switch on. I love to hear theories of what this could have been. I still believe that it was her, but a part of me is still terrified that it wasn't her. I've since moved a ton, but am currently still in this house as we speak. My grandfather moved out, and my aunt took over the house with her wife. Recently, we've all been seeing figures and shadows swoosh past doorways, mainly the doorway to the laundry room that includes those same flight of stairs. A small child of a family friend went to use the bathroom and saw what he described to be someone standing at that doorway to the laundry room and came outside crying. My aunt's wife said she saw it too, but I don't think it was my grandmother this time. I must also inform you that the owner of the house had a son who passed away due to a four-wheeler accident. He didn't die in the house itself, but that upstairs bedroom was his, and still to this day has some of his belongings, including four-wheeler trophies, Hot Wheels collections, etc., in the crawl spaces. I don't know what to make of all of it, but I'm just glad that I haven't died yet. Schwiggity schwanky, who's ready for a spanky? It's funny, like disappearing for a while, reading the story, then coming back to the chat. People, spiders are good. Yeah, I saw a really creepy video on like a meme page earlier where it wasn't necessarily creepy, it was cute, but it was like two little girls, sisters. They must have only been maybe 6 and 4 years old or something of that nature, and like basically the older sister had a spider on her arm, like a decent sized spider. You know, I don't know what type it was. I wouldn't say it was a wolf spider because I think some of those are aggressive. And she had it on her forearm, and she poked it, and it like crawled over to her sister's arm, And then the sister, like, was kind of giggling as it was like kind of like just slowly crawling up her arm and around like her tricep or something. And then the older sister took it back onto her arm. And then the mother was like, why don't we let her rest or something like that. And I don't know, it was just really funny to me to see like how, like maybe it was like a baby, maybe it was like a baby tarantula or something that they got from like, from really young to perhaps raise or something like that. But I don't know, in a strange way, it was nice seeing like young children like comfortable with playing with spiders and not like immediately freaking out or wanting to smoosh it, because I probably would want to smoosh it. I'm offline, thank you. Get his butter socks online. Alright guys, this is the second to last story, probably about the same length and girth as the last one. Gotta lube up the lips. Knots Casey says, after my aunt passed, my nephew was over and told me she was at the front door. I was scared at first, being a horror movie buff, but then felt okay. I asked what she thought she was doing, and he said saying hey and going to nap. Oh, that's really nice, actually. Honestly, I feel like I've heard people say that like certain spirits or demonic entities can take on the form and shape of your family, but like it usually seems like when people have experiences with their like family members, at least in these stories that I read, it's always a pretty positive experience, so like if it gives you peace, I feel like that would be the opposite thing that a demonic entity would want to impart upon you as far as feeding off of negative energy and stuff. And so Ally, thank you. You cannot house train a spider. Yeah, they pee everywhere. Do spiders piss? That's what I'm curious about. Do they piss? Do they shit? What's the deal? We gotta know. You have a pact that whoever dies first has to visit the other. Yeah, that would be nice, to just kind of have some closure, but also like, I don't know, just have some sort of hope for something beyond this world, this mortal, this fleshly flesh house. Do spiders come? Good question. I don't think so. Not as much as me. Throughout my life, my family and I had odd experiences happen in a few of several homes that we lived in, so we were no strangers to paranormal activity. My mom has always believed that whatever spirits or energy we encountered were brought by negativity or traumatic events that may have happened in the homes previously. My parents had saved up enough money to buy a nice 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home, with far too much space for us to live in, and it was fairly new, being less than a decade old. I was in elementary school, transitioning into middle school at this time. 3/4 of the bedroom were upstairs, so naturally my parents took the master, my older brother took the room with a window facing the neighborhood, and I took the room in the middle. I loved that house. It had been mine and my mother's dream to move into a 2-story home with lots of space to accommodate for our needs and wants, and I think the 4 of us went in with high expectations and a lot to look forward to. During the first month of us moving in, my mom had her first experience. She was staying at home alone and was washing dishes when an odd feeling of someone being there had overcome her. She initially ignored it until she felt the back of her hair bounce up and down against her shoulders, like someone playing with her ponytail. She turned around. Nothing. She knew it couldn't have been a draft, but she also knew it was the best to ignore it. So she did and continued washing the dishes. However, it only took a few seconds for it to begin again. This time the bounces were more enthusiastic, and the moment my mom rushed to look behind her, it had stopped again suddenly. My mom was a very impatient and stubborn woman, and she was never the type to let herself be scared so easily, but at that point she realized that if there was something in our home that could make But at that point, Lils with the 5 says, spiders love my cars. Usually I see 1 to 3 crawling all over them. I just rolled up my window and let them be. Yeah, I feel like the only bug that I feel like pretty comfortable with, as weird as that sounds, I really like moths. I don't know why I like moths, but like when I see a moth, I pick it up, I give it a kiss, and I don't know, I just put it outside. Like, I don't know, something about a moth, it's like soft. It doesn't feel like it's gonna hurt me or bite me or be aggressive. It's just a silly old moth looking for a lamp. I'm just a moth trying to get a lamp. And Miss Molly with the 2 says, Joel, thanks for that imagery. You are ever so welcome. You're gonna add it to your stories. They grapple and the male deposits sperm on her abdomen with his arm. Oh, interesting. Bugs are scary. Definitely creepy. Creepy crawlies. They do not copulate. Oh. They just get right into the news. But at that point, she realized that if there were something in her home, that could make physical contact with her, then it could easily do the same to my brother and I. So my mom took a defensive approach and called out, "If you mean no harm to my family, then you may stay. But if you are here to hurt or scare my family, then you need to get out of my house. You are not welcome here." And then nothing happened. The odd feeling slowly went away, and my mom went back to doing her thing without any odd occurrences disrupting her again. In fact, that seemed to be the only time that anyone had an experience, for the time being at least. Fast forward to about 5 months into our time living there, my family was going through a hard time. My older brother was getting into trouble at school, and he was distancing himself more from us. My parents were arguing a lot more, and I was getting bullied at middle school while dealing with my self-consciousness due to being overweight. All the space in the house felt too much by then. We had no more than a large table and a Christmas tree in our living room. We rarely had guests, and the house always felt chilly, so it felt more lonely than ever. Sometimes I would lie awake at night and stare at nothing until I fell asleep, thinking of everything that was bothering me and missing the way life used to be, missing the way we were as a family before we had moved. One night I woke up and just stared into the space outside of my door, which was cracked open. The lights were off, and while I'm usually afraid of the dark, I was for some reason transfixed on the space outside my open door that showed the hallway. I stared, not thinking of anything, slowly zoning out until my eyes blurred. I stared, not a bad feeling in my mind or body, nothing but the pull of something that kept my gaze. All of a sudden, the lights in the hallway came on, and I saw my brother rush to my mom's room. I blinked for what felt like the first time since I had woken up. I became aware of myself again, of how dark it had been in my room, which I was always afraid of. I sat up in bed, confused and thankful that I had been snapped out of whatever sort of trance I was in. I could hear my mom talking with my brother, but couldn't make out what it was. But I didn't need to try, as moments later my brother opened my door and said, "Did you hear that?" I was confused, and I replied, "No, hear what?" Instead of answering me, he went back to my mom's room, and after more talking, my mom came with him. "You really didn't hear anything? Were you awake?" My brother asked me. "You're going to scare her. We'll talk about it tomorrow," my mom said to my brother, and then she asked if I wanted to sleep with her and my dad that night, and being a little freaked out, naturally I went with her that night. It wasn't until the following morning that my mom and brother had explained what had happened. They explained how, while both of them were in their rooms awake, they heard what sounded like a woman calling something out in the hallway. My brother knew it could have been my mom because it wasn't her voice. Couldn't have been, sorry. Sorry, folks. Fuck that up, huh? Snakes are yummy too. You guys eat snakes? Do you just suck them down whole like a noodle? Scott, you have a demon in your room and it won't get out. Huh. Well, tell it no takesy backsies, swiper no swiping. Repster says, I believe humankind have built up a natural fear of spiders and snakes over ages of certain snakes and spiders having a fatal effect on humans. I mean, that would make sense. Moths eat holes in clothing, you hate them. Yeah, I guess that would get annoying. They seem to leave mine alone. 'Cause I give them kisses. My brother knew it couldn't have been my mom because it wasn't her voice. But when he went to ask her anyway if it was her, my mom said she heard it too and that it sounded too old to be me. What was weirder so was how neither of them could understand what she was saying, and what was even more odd was that while my room was right in the middle of the hall with the door open, I heard absolutely nothing. All I could think of was the odd feeling while I stared out into the hallway that night. 2 months later, and unfortunately, things had escalated to the point of no return with my family. My mom was divorcing my dad after discovering his other family in his hometown back in Mexico. My brother understood the circumstances when she told us that we had to move away, but growing up being blind to the signs, I was distraught and caught completely by surprise. My mom did her best to stay strong in front of us, but she was bitter and torn up inside. I'd say with my dad a few times over the weekend, but... Oops. Bubblegum chicken equals snakes. Ah, I did hear it's a bit chewy. A bit like gator. Gator meat and gator nuggets. You would never let a bug willingly anywhere near your mouth. That's probably wise. They always make a home in mine. I can't stop it. I'd stay with my dad a few times over the weekend, but when I'd see the state of the home with even more open space, it just felt lonely. I stopped visiting, and my dad and I decided it was best to just spend time together during the day. In no time, with my mom supporting us in a separate home, and no one to help my dad pay for the house, we lost it, and my dad moved out in a moment's notice. Our happy family home had become the place of our family's end. One day, not too long after he moved out, I asked my dad what it was like living there alone without us. When he told me it was scary, I was curious about his answer and asked why. What he said terrified me. He said that some nights he would feel like he was being watched or followed throughout the house. He'd feel so nervous that he would practically run to the room, and he'd rarely stay anywhere else in the house because of it. One night he was jolted awake from what he knows was a vivid and horrible nightmare, but before he even had a second to breathe and gather his thoughts, he felt the bed slam against the floor, and all the doors, room door, closet doors, and bathroom door opened and slammed shut all at once. He didn't remember his nightmare, and from that night on he slept with the lights on. I was horrified when he told me this. Was his bed floating? It was winter when this had happened, so no windows were open, and even if they were, no draft could have opened and closed the doors the way it did when I thought about it. That day, when I went home, I relayed the experience to my mom. She seemed surprised, but she laughed. When she saw how confused I was, she said, "Before we left the house, I told your father he was going to see something in that house for everything he put our family through. He laughed it off. I guess he won't be laughing about it anymore." To this day, I wonder if my mom's first experience and her message to my dad were connected. She wanted whatever was there to leave her family alone and to leave her home if it meant any harm. Could her leaving that home in my dad's experience be because his actions had hurt our family? Could my mom have sealed the deal with her statement toward my dad? Or could it have just waited for the moment when the negative energy was highest in that house? Whatever the cause, I think there is power in words that are said with full intent, and it's a scary concept to think about it. What is it? Whatever the cause, I think there is power in words that are said with full intent, and it's a scary concept to think. That is kind of creepy. Just thinking about, like, creatures that feed off of your energy, like some strange spiritual extra-dimensional energy that you emit as a human being. There's some sort of spiritual creature with a sense of intelligence that looks at your emotions, whether negative or positive, as some sort of food. It's fucking strange, man. The Baka Boy 2000 with the 10 buckaroos says, "Sorry I'm late, but now I'm here to enjoy the storytelling." Nice. Thank you, the Baka Boy. I apologize that this is actually going to be our last story of the night, but I do really appreciate you stopping by. I appreciate that we almost made it to about another 1,000 folks, which is badass. Energy vampires. Interdimensional energy vampires. While I was a teenager, I babysat at least for 3 families. There was a 4th, but this is why I drew the line. This was around 1994 to 1995. Now the 4th family had 2 kids between 6 to 11. I was a bit annoyed because the 11-year-old boy acts like he was 6 and the 6-year-old boy acts like he was 10. So there was some kind of issue mentally with this older boy. I was carrying a book with me for research called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This will come up later. Now, I'm not going to say that the night went off without a hitch, but oh boy. Now I put my things in the closet beside the front door, and this will be important. We went to the park, which was right next to the apartment complex of which they lived in. The 11-year-old absolutely refused to come back with me until dark, which for me is a big no. I told him he wouldn't get one story out of me until we came home. We got back, 7 p.m., and I made them their evening snack, and the 11-year-old grabs my book bag and pulls out the book. I am stunned and startled when he demands that I read him those stories. I have the rule about scary stories, and I told him no, we would read the book that his mother selected. He whines that he wants to read these stories from my book. I am just freaked because I had left my book bag in the closet next to the door, and he told me he found it on the couch. I had no memory of ever leaving my books out for anyone. I suddenly see my homework and books all spread out on the couch. I hear something coming from one of the rooms, and I just grab the boys and tell them that we're going out. We go to their grandparents, who are on the top floor of the apartments. Well, there I saw that once again the 11-year-old boy is clutching my book of scary stories, demanding I read from it. I'm just staring at him, wondering what I should say. Grandma looks at me and then the book, asking where the heck I got it. Again, this is my book I was doing for a project for in my American literature class. She tells me that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is haunted and to get rid of the book. I push the book into a jacket pocket. Yeah, it fit there, and I told the woman I won't read it, and now isn't the time to demand I trash the book. Cops arrive, and sure enough, a neighbor broke in and was in the middle of ransacking the apartment when we got back from the park, because I noticed that we had avoided something terrible. That sounded really strange for some reason. Like, cops arrived. Why are the cops there? Hey, Leah M with the 20 big ones says you are amazing. Thank you, Leah. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Very much so. And Archer Animates with a 5 says, first time you've still been on after I finished workout. Yas, I'm super gross right now, but I don't want to risk you finishing while in the shower. Yeah, you want to catch the end here for show, and I do appreciate the 5er. We'll keep you stinky for a wee bit longer before heading off here. Just got this last little bit of a paragraph, I guess, to read here, and then we'll read the outro. You guys need to think of a funny outro for me to read. I noticed that we had avoided something terrible because the cops had arrived. And sure enough, a neighbor broke in and was in the middle of ransacking the apartment when we got back from the park. I never requested payment for my time and refused to babysit for that family again. I never told my parents, and I also tried to push it out of my mind. One question was, why did this guy choose to go through my backpack and not anyone else's bags? He had ample time to do so, but he chose a broke teenager's backpack. To be honest, I have no fucking idea what that story, like, was it paranormal? Was it not paranormal? Like, I couldn't tell. Like, it just introduced a robber into their house out of nowhere. I don't know. It just, like, confused me for some reason. There's a robber baron. Okay. Moths are just nighttime butterflies that eat clothes. I know. That's cute. And they're usually nice, you know what I mean? I don't think they bite. I think they just have, like, suckers, like, And they're usually like covered in fur, which is kind of cool. Oh yeah, Scott, that sounds pretty good. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. If you got a story, be sure to submit them to my subreddit, Let's Read Official, and give and receive feedback from the community and maybe even hear your story featured on the next video. And join my Discord to interact with me and other listeners directly. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations for just $1 a month on Patreon, and maybe even pick up some Let's Read merch on Spreadshirt. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all these stories in long compilation form and save huge on data, located anywhere you listen to podcasts. Links in the bio. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, wait, what was I supposed to say? Fuck. I'll just leave that. What was I supposed to say? Fuck. I'll be brave enough to suck at something new. Yeah, I like that advice. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, be brave enough to suck at something new. Be brave enough to suck. Be brave enough to suck. That's going to get taken out of context for sure. Well, my friends, thank you again for an amazing stream. Seriously, it's just such an honor in many, many ways to be able to do this with you guys every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday for the streamies. And as you know, new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This will be out, I guess, tonight at 7 p.m. It's 1 a.m. around here in my part of the world, so this will come out. The audio will be edited. I'll be editing on Discord if you guys feel like joining. And the audio will be released early access on Patreon. Only $1 a month there to get early access to that. So hoping that'll be a banger for you tomorrow. I think there's some pretty good stories, and we'll also be having a little bit of a guest narrator on, so I hope you guys show some love for them and subscribe to their channel, which will be linked in the description box as well as in the top pinned comments. So keep an eye out for that. And thanks for getting us almost to 1,000 peeps here, which is always badass. I love seeing the numbers climb, and you guys just, all the new faces too is really cool. So anyways, guys, thank you again, and I'll see you again soon.